How's it going, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to Wish We Were Then, the show that has been doomed to repeat history so that you may learn from it. I am one of your hosts here. My name is Trey, and I'm joined by my friend Mark.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to Wish We Were Then.
Yes, we are the show that's been doomed to repeat history, meaning that Mark and I are flung backwards through the pages of time. Every single week, we land on a different year. We don't know what it's going to be until we get there. We have to look around. We quickly rush and run out the front door wherever we're landing. We grab someone, shake them by the shoulder. We say, "Quick, what year is it, you fool? What year is it?" And they say, "You idiot, it's what?" And they tell us, and we go, "Oh, okay. Now we know."
Oh, good. Okay, this is what we're doing now.
We're always shocked. We're always so concerned when we get there. Where are we? And then we find out almost immediately. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, you want to go see a movie?
Yeah. Grab your pen and paper. Let's go.
Yep, and then we just walk around town. We figure out what are people listening to? What are they talking about? What's on the news? What types of toys are the children playing with, for crying out loud? We find out as much as we can so we can tell you what was it like. You ever wished you were then? Well, consider us your personal genies granting that one wish, but every single week. So you get unlimited wishes as long as that wish is always, what was it like back then? We have a nice year today, I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun year. There's a lot of stuff going on for sure.
Yes, there is.
A lot of stuff that I had to pass over, had to walk by, couldn't look at it.
Yeah.
But,
Couldn't be tempted.
yeah.
You go, okay, I've already betrothed myself to another fact. I can't indulge in this one. And I found myself writing. There's a couple of stories that I have like a ton of information on. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna have to leave it at that and not get a bunch of little things because there's a couple of things that really interested me that I sort of delved into. Okay, shall we set the stage for the year?
We shall.
All right. I think when you look at the lifespan of modern pop culture, you're talking about like from the 50s to nowadays, early on, it seems like the powers that be were very concerned with homogenizing everything and figuring out what do people like and let's do more of that. You know, that was their job right away. That's advertising was new and this marketing world was all, they said, oh, you like that song? Cool, let's just do that song again. Have that guy record it again with different words and have that other guy record it with different words too. You know, you listen to 50s music, like a lot of it sounds, they literally were the same song just with different lyrics, you know, over and over and over again a lot of time. Because they figured out that's what people liked. And then as time went on, technology improved and artists were able to use those technologies to improve their art and take it to whole new places. Oftentimes they're not met right away with people saying, this is going to be great. A lot of times it's, well, I don't know if people are going to like that. But as time goes on, it seems like the powers that be, they realize they need to put money behind the artists who are pushing the envelope and doing something different because people like to see something new. They like to see something exciting. They like to see the spectacle of it. And eventually it feels like that kind of fell off and they realized, oh, maybe we just sell the spectacle. Hey, if they like the way that thing sounded, let's get back to doing that again. Sort of like the 50s. We're kind of in that same realm now where it's like, oh, they like the way that Marvel movie works, we'll just do a different Marvel movie. And I mean, it does work. We're, kind of, again, back in that same sort of homogenized, everything sort of feels the same to a degree. Lesser so than the 50s, obviously, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, I think for a period of time, though, it was let's support and really praise artists who are doing something different and making something new and taking technology and pushing the envelope and changing the world with what they're doing. And I think we're looking at a year, the 90s was kind of the peak of that. That was sort of where it hit its height. The most money was going into the most innovative technologies. We're going to look at a movie this year that totally blew everyone's fucking minds when it came out. It really was groundbreaking, but it also was a great movie. It was helmed by a great director who had, he would have done a great job with this movie had he not been able to use all these computers. So, and we know that for a fact because he had done it in the past. Even sports this year, I'm going to tell you a story about the Super Bowl that goes to show, we've talked a little bit about this in the past, but it goes to show that same thing. The style versus substance, which is more important. But they did try to jazz up the Super Bowl this year, but they did so by going to an artist that also had a proven track record of being an actual celebrated artist, notwithstanding all the other shit that this guy did. We'll talk about it soon. You got a couple of guesses, I'm sure. So the year we're about to look at, that is, again, one of these years where a lot of money went into really cool art. And so we ended up with a lot of really cool shit that we're going to talk about this year. The year is 1993.
Yeah, I think you made some good points. Definitely a spectacular year.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Speaking of like technologies and things along that line, Wired magazine came out this like in the beginning of the year. If you want to know anything about technology and things that are coming out, this is a magazine that you would go to. They called themselves the Rolling Stones of technology magazines. They coined a bunch of terms. Crowdsourcing was one of them.
Yeah, I know that was something that, I think in 1993 it probably was like still very. Man, can you imagine? You know somebody who's like, that guy gets Wired magazine. What a fucking geek, like super hacker. But
Yeah, back then, I mean, those were the only people doing it.
But I know that when we were in high school and stuff like that, that was something where it'd be like that's where people broke news about important things that were coming out, iPhones and Wi-Fi technology, shit like that. I got a news story here. It's up at the top of the year. I mean, we always like to kind of cover the sadder stories. I actually have two that are pretty close together in the top of the year. But on February 26th, a bomb exploded in the basement of the World Trade Center. And this explosion, I mean, it was a massive explosion. If you look up the pictures of it, it was crazy how devastating it was, and the fact that it didn't knock the buildings over. That was the plan, was to damage the, foundations, and then the buildings would topple one into the other, killing everybody involved. But it did not go according to the terrorists' plan.
Yeah, it was a 100-foot crater, and it went several stories deep and even several more stories high. So it exploded like up and down, basically.
Yeah, it went through 4 sub-levels of concrete. So like the actual like flooring levels blew through 4 different ones of those. And the smoke reached all the way up to the 93rd floor. So then people like running down because then the elevators went out. Power was lost to the building because of the explosion. So people had to flee through the stairwells. And then people got a lot of smoke inhalation injuries because of all of this. The blast itself killed 6 people, 5 Port Authority workers, and one businessman whose car was parked in that part of the garage. And then it injured 1,040 or so other people. So most of the other injuries happened because of the smoke inhalation and things like that, or firemen and things who were fighting the fires and stuff of that nature. So,
yeah,
it didn't have a really. Luckily, there weren't that many people in the blast radius to get killed by it, but it was just a gigantic explosion. These guys, they put a urea nitrate bomb, allegedly, into like a cargo van, and then drove it down into the public parking garage, where then obviously they detonated it. Hundreds of people were trapped in the elevators because the power went out, including a group of 17 kindergartners who were trapped for 5 hours.
Dang.
Thought that was really sad. Poor little
That's
babies.
Super sad, right?
Ramzi Youssef was the organizer. He said it was a retaliation against the U.S. for their support of Israel over Palestine. So the motivation they got from anybody that was involved, that was kind of the only person who said anything. They asked him about religious affiliations. I think they were trying to kind of figure out if they could pin it on that. He didn't ever tell them what religion he ascribed to. He just said, this is about Palestine and Israel. That's what this is about. So good on him for keeping his mouth shut, get his point across.
Yeah, I tried to look up the terrorist organization that was like pinned to it. I thought for sure that there would have been one. But yeah, I couldn't find anything. I read the FBI file and stuff, and I couldn't.
Seems like they were mostly on their own. These guys.
Yep.
They were operating under a guy who was known as the Blind Sheik, and he was. I don't have a lot of information about him written down because he wasn't really the organizer, but he was sort of the person that they all used. Like he was a religious figure in I want to say New York at the time, and so immigrants would come and they all sort of gathered around him, and that's sort of where these guys met each other and were getting into. Into contact with one another, where Youssef was sort of planning everything out of. So yeah, it kind of seemed like it was a personal vendetta that they had. They all felt this way about the U.S. involvement in politics in the Middle East, and sort of did that. It did seem like there was some attempt to kind of say, oh, it was orchestrated by. They tried to implicate the Iraqi government, but they weren't able to do so. So it seemed like the U.S. government was looking for ways to pin this and sort of drum up support for a war in the Middle East, possibly. There was a lot of effort to try to figure out if there was a bigger organization when the guys at the base level were saying there wasn't. So we don't know for sure, but because it could have come from somewhere else. They might have just been looking in the wrong place is also kind of my point.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking in one direction and you're not finding that evidence, well, you got to widen your search because now you're just, blinding yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then like you said, if you're trying to drum up support for a war, grasping at straws and like, well, maybe these guys did it. Probably
Yeah.
isn't the best thing to do, you know?
Here's some more information about that. Honestly, there's just more of that information that makes you start to wonder about these sorts of conspiracy theories out there because who knows? But Imad Salem, who knows? I don't know. Salem. I mean, make a fucking decision, and that's how I'm gonna pronounce it. Ahmad Salem. That's how I'm gonna pronounce that name. He was an Egyptian man who had come to the U.S. and became an FBI informant. They basically, I think he worked at like a hotel or something, and he was a doorman. They tasked him with looking at these Russian mobsters as they were coming in, and he basically told them, "Look, I know this guy who's way worse, and he's going to do something way more fucked up than these Russian mobsters are." He knew about the blind sheik, and so he started putting them in that direction. And according to him, and he had taped hundreds of hours of calls. Where those tapes are, nobody seems to know. There's really not any even information about this guy past a certain point, but. He said he testified that the FBI supervised the building of the bomb, and that there was a call with the supervisor where the supervisor decided against using fake powder that they were going to put in the bomb to trick the terrorists into thinking they had a real bomb. So the initial plan was, we're going to help them build this thing, but it's going to be fake. And then he decided against that and gave them a real bomb, according to this FBI informant, who tipped them off beforehand that this bomb was going in there, and was one of the key witnesses that put away Ramzi Youssef. But, part of his testimony is the FBI was in charge of this. So who freaking knows? Yeah, like I said, no information, though. That's it. That's all the information that I could find.
I've never heard anything about that.
And I had to dig it around and stuff, and I kind of found some stuff. He was in witness protection for many years after that, and... really not a whole lot, not a lot of information about.
Alive?
I read an article with him that was sort of like after the fact that he'd come out of witness protection. He was in witness protection for like 20 years. Then I guess the FBI gave him like $1 million. That's part of like witness protection that you get, I guess. That's kind of cool. But he blew through all that, and then he just was working odd jobs, and eventually decided to come out and write a memoir, and then become like an FBI. Or like give seminars to people in like the FBI and law students and stuff like that, but didn't really talk too much more about that. Like, hey, what about that thing you said? I don't know. I guess nobody really pressed him. I found one interview with him 20 years later, and that's really all I can find.
Interesting.
Right?
I guess in those couple of years till 9/11 happened, nobody asked questions.
Yeah.
And then all the conspiracy theories came out.
Right, and it's weird that it isn't. None of this is brought up more in conjunction with that. Even by like conspiracy people, you think maybe it is. Maybe it's like right there, and people. It has to have been being. I don't know. It feels like there's got to be some level of suppression there for this not to be the obvious thing that everybody who has a conspiracy theory would go, "Hey, remember a couple years earlier?"
Well, that's probably what Alex Jones was basing it off of. He called 9/11 like 6 months before it happened.
Oh. I didn't know that.
So, I mean, this is probably where he got some of that information or some of those aspirations, at least, just to think of it.
Yeah. Oh, and also my other thing I want to say about this song is it always confused me in the Biggie Smalls song where he says, blow up like the World Trade.
Because it was done in the 90s?
Yeah, when I was old enough. I mean, I didn't really listen to Biggie as a kid, so I didn't I clocked that line, Sure, I heard it. But
no,
it
but you knew
the
song was from the 90s.
Yeah, when I got old enough to really be listening to it, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck? How did he, that made me go what? Did he have inside information? It's like, oh no, he's talking about the first time this happened. So in case you ever heard that song and wondered what he was referring to, this is what he was referring to. So this is why I knew about this bombing beforehand, was because as a kid I was like, what does he mean? Was Biggie Smalls a sage?
On February 26th, the FBI would raid the Branch Davidians cult compound in Waco, Texas. The goal was to arrest the leader, Vernon Howe, otherwise known as David Koresh. There had been reports of the compound stockpiling weapons, and Koresh had fathered children with girls as young as 12.
Mm-hmm.
They were not able to arrest Koresh in the initial raid. It turned into a firefight immediately with 4 ATF agents dead and 16 wounded. The standoff lasted 2 months.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then on April 19th, Janet Reno, she was actually the first female attorney general.
Okay.
And she would have the ATF go in with tear gas into the compound. They arrested Koresh, but the attack started a fire in their compound that killed 80 of the cult members.
Yeah, it's pretty bungled siege
Yeah.
by the
2 months.
FBI
How you
and
gonna
the
let that go
ATF.
on for 2 months before you throw gas grenades? You gotta let it
Yeah,
off.
I mean,
Like,
well, and it's crazy.
maybe it's gonna start a fire, I guess.
Well, that's so this as far as the fire stuff goes, the Department of Justice they maintain that it was started by the cult. They say that they have audio surveillance that of Koresh instructing others to put more fuel onto piles of hay, which is like, oh wow, that's really cool. You guys have that one audio recording. Then also they have so they had audio recording of him telling them to do that, as well as aerial footage showing that there are 3 points of ignition where the fires had started. So according to them, it was them. And the FBI contends that none of their units fired any live rounds that day, which that seems insane. Like now it's like I don't know. You think nobody fired a fucking gun? But the critics suggest it's the fact that the live rounds mixed with the specific type of gas they used, which was flammable, ignited flames and, caused the fire. So, another thing, who knows who's telling the truth, the government or the other people who are looking at it. The gas that they used, I did look into it because I was thinking, okay, so they used tear gas. At first, I didn't think anything that weird of it, but then when the people said, like, well, it's flammable gas, and like they should have known not to shoot at it. So I looked at the specific type because it was called CS gas. It's like a long compound name that's just shortened to CS. But one thing I did find noteworthy about it is that it's outlawed in warfare by the Geneva Protocols. But, you can use it on your own citizens if you wish. Just throwing that out there. Find that a little fucking weird that we decide to use things on people in our citizenship that are not legal to use in warfare. Because, these people,
They just had them left over. They're like, we're not going to throw these away. Let's just use them in case we need them. Just keep them. You never know. Just keep them in the back.
These are going to come in handy. You think, yeah, these people were crazy. Then who knows what they would have done. But also, a lot of these people were duped into doing this. They were swindled. You know what I mean? People are easily influenced, and it doesn't always work out in their benefit. And it's like, you got to say there, but for the grace of God go I. Anybody could end up in a cult. Nobody's.
That's what I was just about to say. You never know. You can all be brainwashed, especially at 18 or 12. Well, these young girls. You know what I mean?
Right?
Like,
12. Oh, my God. Of the roughly 76 cultists who were killed, 20 to 28 of them were children. So,
geez.
A lot of kids lost their lives, unfortunately. Yeah, the reason why this went the way it did was because the ATF, they were planning to do a surprise warrant serving, essentially. They were informed about the crimes that he was doing, the weapons, and then the underage things going on. They also were told that he was probably making meth on the grounds. It's so funny. This is
fund that stuff somehow. I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what he said. It's a great way to make money. They're a religious cult. They're part of like Jehovah's Witness, I want to say, or Seventh-day Adventists. I don't remember now.
The 7-day Adventist. That's how I read that.
Yeah,
I
so
didn't
they're
write
part
it
of
down, but I remember reading that.
So they're part of like the Seventh-day Adventists. They're like an offshoot of that. So they're just normal, normal modern day Christianity is what this was born out of. It's not like it's some ancient religion that they're ascribing to, or this guy claims to have spoken to God or something like that. It's just like there's an offshoot of this religion. And really reading about David Koresh, it's like he was a sleazeball. It's not like he was a prophetic holy man that they fell for. It was like he was a fucking weird creep that they all just like, ugh, this guy, he's like, was drunk all the time and just like cussed a lot. And like one of their other leaders, it kind of reminded me of the story of the Jane Goodall chimps, the way that there was like a death and then the two tribes split apart. The same thing happened here where there was a person in charge who she had a son. There was a guy in charge. He died, left it to his wife. She was now the one in charge of the cult. She was looking for her successor. And her son, she said, wasn't fit to do it. And she saw David Koresh and thought, this guy can do it. So she started grooming him. When she passed, those two had a falling out between each other and they split off. And this other guy went he kind of took over this main cult, and David Koresh split off and did his own thing. Then that guy went to jail because he was just a weird, nasty guy. He went to court, and then he got put in contempt of court for cussing too much in court. And then he also served actual time for submitting court documents that had curse words in them. It was like, you're such a weird, gross piece of shit. You can't just stop fucking cursing when they're asking you to. Like, I curse a lot. I can write down without saying those words, Like, you have to be a
Yeah,
real sleazeball to get arrested for writing curse words, you know? That's so easy and within your power not to do. You know what I mean? So the people who were involved in this cult, I was saying anybody can be duped, but they were knowingly following some real dirtbags, apparently. You know.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, so this ATF was planning this raid, and they were going to do a surprise raid. They showed up into town. A local reporter had been tipped off prior to the raid that it was going to happen. You know, I mean, they tell the news about this kind of stuff for whatever reason. I don't fucking know. Probably shouldn't do it because this guy then went into town and asked for directions to Koresh's place from a local mailman, and that mailman happened to be Koresh's brother-in-law. So he called David Koresh and told him, "Hey, look, there's a raid coming. You know, they're coming to come give you warrants for stuff." So the Branch Davidians were armed and ready when the ATF showed up. And then the ATF said, "I guess we're going to go in and try to do it anyway." And then as soon as they did, they just started shooting.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it was really like, just turn around at that point. None of this had to happen. Your plan was to surprise them. You're not able to. Let's try this again later, you know?
Yeah.
Obviously, is what you should have done.
But I mean, then to let it go on for 2 months. I mean, come on.
Yeah, what's so weird?
That's crazy.
Also, I just wanted to do another. Thought this was interesting. The USPS guy was the one who tipped off David Koresh. So it was like that was the United States Postal Service worker. Well, the way that the ATF found out about any of this stuff going on was by a UPS driver. So he actually was delivering packages to what ended up being like their business, you know, or something. And when he was dropping off a box, it broke open to reveal like half a dozen hand grenades. So then he went and told the authorities, and he's like, "I've been making deliveries to these guys for months." So he basically was one like, I'm dropping off a bunch of heavy boxes. They're getting them there. They're stockpiling weapons. So UPS tipped him off, and USPS was working for the cult, you know? I just think that's really funny that they're like, you know, they both happen to work for mail carriers that also not the same thing either. That it's like, okay, man.
It's like a private business did the right thing, but the one that worked for the federal government
Right?
is the one that was
I know.
being shady. That sounds about right.
Oh, what can Brown do for you, huh?
A lot more than you think.
Yeah, I know where my business is going from now on.
All right, I got one more news story.
Alrighty.
On October 3rd, the Battle of Mogadishu in Mogadishu, Somalia. 18 U.S. service members were killed and 73 were wounded. And 300 to 700 Somali National Alliance soldiers were killed. It was for a snatch and grab mission to arrest Somali world leader Muhammad Fahi Adid. 2 Black Hawk helicopters were shot down with rocket propeller grenades, and another chopper landed a block north of its target. U.S. Delta Rangers forced an attempt to rescue both the choppers, but were caught in a firefight and cornered for one night. It was the longest sustained firefight since Vietnam.
Wow. Man, that's crazy. I didn't see this in my research or heard. I'm really not familiar with this story at all.
You are, actually. It is the Black Hawk Down.
Yeah, now I pieced it together right when you said I was familiar with it. I went, oh, wait, what kind of helicopters? I've never seen it.
So it was a long fight. So this is I did a bunch of research into this. I ended up listening to an interview with one of the guys on the Sean Ryan show who was in this fight, and it was crazy, man. He said that they were literally held up in a house, and they would be running up to the windows and basically just like taking people out at the windows. Like that's how close they were getting. He said they were posted up all night.
Jeez.
And they stayed because there was 2 pilots who had crashed and their chopper had flipped over, and they stayed all night so they could repatriate them, which was basically just bring them home, bring home their bodies.
Oh wow, man, that's some loyalty to your fellow soldier, huh? That's so crazy. I haven't seen that movie. I don't really watch a lot of war movies. I just finally watched Saving Private Ryan for the first time. You know, Black Hawk Down's on my list too. Those are kind of 2 that I'm like, I really should have seen these movies by now. But I always think that's so wild in, you know, movies and things when they go back for a soldier's body like that. It seems like, man, that is just a level of a bond that you just, you know, I can't comprehend that. You know what I mean?
And U.S. is the only people that do it these days, at least. I don't know. I'm sure other people have adopted it, but definitely made it a mission. It was always a Marine code standard. Yeah, it was crazy, man. Heavy interview, let me tell you that.
Yeah, man, I can't believe they survived. I gotta watch this movie, I guess, figure out how.
Yeah, it was crazy. And you talk about the Geneva Convention, and that's what they were saying is that, like, there was like Somali gang, like basically like just a nationalized gang. So they don't follow the Geneva Convention standards. It was so that was definitely a huge thing that happened this year. Even though I was gotta say this is one of the first times we've ever talked about like a big, like actual battle. We've talked about like Vietnam and stuff, but never.
Yeah, or like Bay of Pigs, we talked about a little bit.
Oh yeah, we did talk about Bay of Pigs.
What was the goal of the mission initially? So snatch and grab for what?
To snatch and grab one of the warlords, Muhammad Adid was his name. Yeah, they basically was supposed to be a quick thing. Even in the movie, they say it, and then in the interview, they were like, "Yeah, we didn't bring water, and we didn't, and we brought. They didn't bring like their hard helmets. They brought like their soft helmets, were like skateboard helmets, basically.
Wow.
So they like were like super unprepared for this. It was supposed to be quick.
It's kind of just one of those things like fucking don't go to try to depose a foreign government. Maybe that kind of shit doesn't happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of big government getting involved in stuff this year, it feels like.
Yeah, and it would continue. And it's not the start either.
Yeah, right.
Just put it that way.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's get off of the politics and stuff.
All right. Now
always
the
a bummer.
bummer stuff's out of the way.
Get through that and we'll get on with our lives. I want to talk about some other newsworthy stories here off the top. The first Chipotle opened in Denver in the year 1993. Are you a Chipotle fan?
Not really. I gotta
Yeah.
say. I mean, I'll go there because it's convenient sometimes, but I don't go there out of my way.
You know, I will say, I guess it's smart for them. They have such a weird style of burrito that's like unlike anywhere else that you would get a burrito. Like it tastes just weird and different. Everything about it is just not exactly like a normal burrito. So it's like if you like it, then that's where you're gonna get your burritos. You know what I mean? Oh, I like that weird thing. So then they just have built-in customers. And then if you ever are in the mood for like that weird Chipotle burrito, you know, they have their own thing. So you go there and do that, I guess, you know?
Yeah. But, I mean, I think that it's built for the convenience of it, right? It's like the Subway where it's like you walk up, build your stuff, and get out kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember when they really became super popular, at least in our neck of the woods. I was in college at the time, and on my campus there was a burrito bar that you could use your meal plan at, and it was exactly the same as Chipotle. Like they had the same options, and it tasted basically the same. It was actually pretty good. And then I went to Chipotle for the first time, like after having eaten there for a while during the year. I finally went to Chipotle, and I was like, "This is the same place I get to eat for fucking free every day," you know. So I just never went back. Yeah, and then like every once in a while I'll go, but it just is not, you know, like you said, it's not my favorite thing. So I just don't go unless it's specifically, I can run in there and get the fuck out in 10 minutes.
well, the thing is, I get it too, but I live in Southern California, so I can go get a good burrito really anywhere.
That's a good
I
point.
understand if you live in Missouri and you're like, dude, you got to check out this Chipotle place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's
Not
I always
everyone
talk
has
about
that option. So, I mean, what is the Mexican food like in your neck of the woods, Trey, these days?
Well, now I'm in Texas, so it's great. You know, I'm in San
but
Antonio.
it's not the same. I've
No,
never
yeah,
had,
it's a different.
like,
It's different
true
styles of.
Tex-Mex.
Yeah, I mean, it's just slightly different, but there are differences in the food. I mean, like one big weird thing is that there's no breakfast burritos here at all. No one makes a breakfast burrito. Everywhere makes breakfast tacos.
Interesting.
A subtle difference, but there's literally not a
Start a
single
food
place
truck.
that does a burrito. You know,
Start a food truck with
I feel like
burritos.
it's something that people have brought up, and there's like a weird sense of pride about their tacos in Texas. They like that. They think burritos is the wrong way to eat breakfast stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know. The tacos is just not enough of it at once to me. Just all the shit's falling out the back. Like it's not, you know. I don't know. It's weird. Weird little subtle things, but definitely not exemplary of the difference in Mexican cuisine. We talking about like Americanized breakfast foods, but
Yeah.
Yeah, there's even the fast food versions of things are different. So
Mhm.
there's a lot less places that have like cheese and lettuce and tomatoes on tacos out here. There are a lot more like true Mexican style tacos. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean? Where it's
Yeah,
like
like
onions and
cilantro and
cilantro and
lime.
yeah. Which I prefer that anyway. I don't really like eating salad with my tacos, but
And sometimes I do. You know what I mean? But that's the thing is like you wouldn't mind going to Chipotle for that because you
yeah.
get all that
Well,
stuff.
I like that with like if it's like a chicken. I think that sounds like nice and refreshing. It's not really
Yeah.
necessarily the same thing as a burrito though. So
Yeah.
just like pizza. Italians aren't like Domino's. You know what I mean? It's like it literally is not the same type of food as pizza is in Italy. The
Or
crust
like
is,
a mom and pop shop anywhere that's doing like brick oven pizzas. You
yeah,
know what
where
I
it's
mean?
like the dough is different consistency, it's shaped differently, like the toppings are different, the sauce is a different flavor, and
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I think Chipotle is sort of the American burrito.
All right, I got another fast food thing.
Okay.
McDonald's Super Size Me option had a cross promotion from the 1993 Jurassic Park movie, and they called it Dino Sized. And it was such a success that after the movie left theaters, they kept the option and renamed it under the name Super Size.
Oh, so this is where supersizing started.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's cool. I thought it was like a bigger version or something. Like we got supersize and then dino size. Oh, that's wow. Okay, so supersize wasn't around for as long as I thought.
I feel like
I'd-
that tracks for me.
I
feel
thought
like it was
come
still
out in
a
like the
new-
'80s.
I feel like it was still a new concept because I remember arguing with my sister when I was probably like 7. Like, I can eat a whole supersized meal.
Yeah.
She's like, no, you can't.
That's so funny, man. I totally thought it's funny that as a kid I remember being like too intimidated to step to a supersized meal. Like, oh, I don't know. I can't eat all that. I know my limits. Another fast food thing here. Jack in the Box. There was a huge E. coli outbreak.
Ooh.
And I think it started in 93 and went on for like a year or something like that.
Damn.
It ended up killing 4 kids and infected 732 people
What
in
was
total.
it that was infected?
The Monster Burger was on sale. And this was an extra large patty, essentially. Due to the high demand of this burger, it was being undercooked. They weren't fully, sanitizing the meat or whatever, getting it clear of
Bringing
its
it to the right
parasites.
temperature to get.
Yeah, and they had received meat that was tainted with E. coli, possibly, is sort of the breakdown of everything, and they just didn't cook it to a high enough internal temperature. They cooked it to the federal, according to one of the ones in, this happened to 73 Jack in the Boxes across the states of California, Nevada, Idaho, and Washington. And at least in Washington, I got some information that they were cooking it to the federal guideline of 140 degrees, as opposed to their state guidelines, which were higher. And if they had cooked it to their own state guidelines, they would have actually been fine. But they were going for like, this is legally as little as we can cook it before we shove it out the door. That's what we're going to do. So
Yeah.
I think maybe if it had been a smaller piece of meat, the chances of this with an internal temperature that's lower are less than, but this
Yeah,
is just a
that's
big
probably why I
volume
didn't-
of undercooked meat,
Yeah, that makes sense. Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what? I gotta say, Jack in the Box has the worst burgers out of any fast food
Quality
restaurant.
wise.
Yeah. Like I like Jack in the Box, but I'll get anything else. Chicken sandwiches, the tacos. Like I'll get anything except the burgers.
Yeah, their meat like is mealy. It like comes apart weirdly. It's almost like
Yeah.
if you like smush a hamburger patty and like spread it out, you could paint something with it. It turns into paste.
Oh man, hey, it can be $1 million painting right there, Trey. Remember the banana with the on the wall?
That's a good idea, actually. Oh, that would have done some big numbers like 20 years ago in the health food craze and stuff like that. Everyone's all
Oh,
worried
yeah.
about like the
Get
pink
us-
slime and things. Yeah.
Get the extra large patty and the supersized fries and just
Yeah.
smear them all over.
Jack in the Box E. coli patty with obesity fries on the side.
Obesity.
Let's get out of the world of the food and into some technological developments that the world saw for the year of 1993. I just have a couple things. They are pretty milestone invention type deals moving forward. PDF format debuts this year, you know, as a way to sort of bring everything together and give it a consistency, to give consistency to files across the web, make them able to be read and edited across different platforms and different sorts of, you know, computer operating softwares. Before PDF came out, anytime you open a document, it might just reformat itself because of the fact that it came from a different, you know, source than what you're looking at it in. So PDF sort of struggling to find a word different than homogenized, because I use that in the opening and it's a very specific word and it's going to sound weird if I use it again. I think it, you know, standardized. That's the word I'm looking for. So it sort of standardized files across different devices and formats and things like that. And, you know, obviously, world wouldn't exist now. We couldn't edit and look at documents on the computer. Like, that actually did, you know, help.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, yeah, made the world a lot smaller, because now you don't have to be immediately around each other to share information, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of which, the other huge invention that I have written down for this year is the Mosaic web browser came out and basically popularized the internet. Before this, it was something that was extremely difficult to access. You had to be a computer wizard. You know, you had to know how to get on there and to hack the mainframes and get through the firewalls and, you know, just whatever, like fucking old-timey computer hacker type stuff. Like, you really had to know how to know your way around a computer and stuff to use the internet. And this was you know, it was installable by amateur computer owners, so that just immediately made it the first time that most people could get on the web. And it was the first browser to ever display images inline in the same page as text. It used to be you'd get text on one window and then the image would be in a different window. And so this brought everything together.
Well, I guess that's the basics of what you think about the internet is, right? Like, if you make an HTML, your goal is to, like, have pictures and text all in the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what you're making internet pages for, right? Like, yeah, you can have a book, essentially, and just have, like, Microsoft Word. But when you think of, like, what the internet basics are, they're articles or whatever that have both images and text. Like,
yeah, and I mean, this is also something that's hard to conceptualize, I think, for people now, where the internet is something that you go on. Oh, it's a browser. You go on, you go to Google, and then it brings you to web pages and things like that. Like, this predates any of that idea. Like, there weren't web pages because there weren't web browsers. You know, it was like there was information that you accessed, and you, like, it displayed information that was stored on the internet for you.
It was like newspaper articles, basically.
Yeah. It was a very
much what everything was.
Mm-hmm. And maybe, you know, files. They're just like a file existed out there, you know, and you had to figure out how to reach it. It wasn't like it was on a page with a link and you went to download it. It was part of something else. Like that, it just was out there. They just figured out how to store it, you know. So very, very, you know, like I said, conceptually different than what we're used to. It was released in January of '93, so right at the top of the year, and it lost market share to Netscape in late 1994. So it basically only lasted for, you know, the better part of 2 years. And by 1997, when it actually shuttered, barely had any users left. So it was a very short-lived thing, going to show how quickly things move nowadays. And, you know, I think if this had been an invention that was like from the 70s or 80s or something, we'd still be using it. You know what I mean? But
yeah, but it was like a precursor.
Yeah. But I mean, if just in the terms of like if they're specific, I think the internet is just something that is moved so quickly that it just automatically, they left this guy in the dust. They didn't like keep working on this one and making it better and better. They just went on to the next best thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Another one that I hadn't written down, but is sort of in the similar vein, that is that there's like an editing software that was used for the first time this year on kind of an obscure movie. It was like, it ended up not really being worth it to me to write it down. Now I'm talking about it, but essentially they still use the same editing software today. But they've been just kind of, it's not Final Cut or whatever. It's like a precursor to that, and
it's like a beta.
Yeah, but it still is essentially, you know, one of the main things that people use, and it came out all the way back in '93. So some stuff, you know, I think I worked in like healthcare for a while, and it's like all of the internal like technology systems that they use to like process claims and like hold all the benefits and stuff. That shit is like from the '90s. It's so out of date, but it would take so much work to figure out how to, you know, uproot all this information and put it somewhere else, so that all they can do is keep, you know, fixing these old shitty programs they use.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
I mean, yeah, it would take a lot, but it would be worth it, or they're just waiting for a better system. Just get AI to do it now. Speaking of better
nowadays.
systems.
Well, then that's still, I mean, it's going to leave something in the dust, and then someone still has to check all that. It's it is a pretty huge thing that they have to do, but
Yeah,
they
that's
got to
true.
do it. I mean, it's just getting worse and worse as time goes on. I don't know. I haven't been in healthcare in 10 years, so maybe they are doing that. But the yeah, so I think that's interesting though. This was still in the age where they just went, something better came along. Let's go ahead and use Netscape now. And Netscape also that came and went pretty quickly as well.
Mm-hmm.
In the same tech realm, a couple of video games that came out this year that are, were some huge deals for kids back then. I know I played a lot of these as a kid, so they lasted for a while in their terms of influence. You got the original Doom came out.
Yeah, fuck it.
Like landmark first-person shooter. Star Fox, the first one. Also a
Okay.
really cool franchise. NBA Jam,
Hell
arcade
yeah.
legend. Virtua Fighter and Mortal Kombat 2 in the fighter game realm. Both classics. Disney's Aladdin, which actually is one of the best movie-based games. Like if you've seen the clips and stuff. I used to have that one on something. Maybe Super Nintendo.
I had
or
it
something like
too.
that.
Yeah, I had it too. I don't remember.
Yeah, that was a
what.
really fun game. It's a really good platformer. And then also Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, which was Link's first time on a handheld system. That was a game that I had growing up. It also doesn't feature Zelda. It's sort of just an outlier. He's not in Hyrule. It's just a weird outlier in the Link
That's kind of cool.
universe. I remember playing that, and it was hard, and I was such a scaredy cat as a kid. I just remember being scared to go into the forest on a video game that I'm like holding in my hands. Like, I can't go into that forest. It's like all 8-bit bleeps and bloops, and I'm scared of it. Those are the games
remember
I
that
have.
too. I didn't get any video games, but I do have a couple of like toys and games that came out this year.
Perfect
Power
segue.
Rangers action figures were the most popular Christmas gift that year.
Right on.
Beanie Babies came out for the first time. And I
Oh,
thought
that was
tho-
the year of the Beanie Baby, huh?
I thought those were older.
Yeah, I would have thought they came. Oh, I know the Beanie Baby Fever was a little later than this, but
Yeah, because yeah, I guess you're right. Because I vaguely remember that everyone.
I
having
was
them.
in it. I was in it. I was definitely a part of the. So I was old enough to have been buying them. So I had to have been, 4 or 5 at least. So I know I wasn't. It was, a couple years after this they really took off.
Yeah, for sure. And Magic the Gathering card game.
Oh, wow.
Came out.
I
never-
would have thought that was older too.
I've never. Yeah, you would think. I've never played it, but super popular these days. They have a whole like Comic-Con kind of convention style thing for it.
That was another thing that I remember my friends getting them and getting involved with, and I was like, I don't know, I don't really think I would be that into it. Sort of like the Dungeons and Dragons thing, but I was like, I don't know. A lot of people are doing it. It seems like the cool thing to do. So I finally was like, hey, Mom, I'd like to get a pack of these cards, I guess. I think I'm going to try to get on board with the trend. And then she saw them and she's like, no, you're not getting those. That goes against.
I gotta say, I don't
Christian
think I even
values.
heard of these until I was like in eighth grade.
Oh, yeah.
I think my friends some of my friends started playing it. But yeah, I never had it, never got into it. Never even seen anybody play it.
I just knew like one group of dudes that played this specifically, And so it was like, hey, if I'm going over there, I'm going to have to play these Magic the Gathering cards. Same place that I remember going over to their house one time and playing Grand Theft Auto. That was the house that I'd go over to. Cause
Yeah, Trey, how'd they turn out? I'm just kidding.
Okay, got any other toys?
Nope, that was all the ones I had.
All right, so you're sitting out there, you're playing with toys. Well, adults like to play too. And what do they play with? Their balls. We're going to talk about sports. I usually don't have too many sports stories, but I do have one, and it ended up being just way more interesting the more I got into it. And it tied in really nicely with something we've talked about previously, and I was very happy about that. So, the Super Bowl. It was held this year at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. It's the last championship game that's ever been held at the Rose Bowl. And the last championship game that's ever been held in a non-NFL stadium. Because I thought that was weird. When I first read it was at the Rose Bowl, I was like, that's really weird to me to hold the Super Bowl at the Rose Bowl, Seemed random. Why not at like one of the stadiums of the teams that are in California as opposed to just this random stadium out in the middle of nowhere, right? But I mean, it's, a storied stadium. It's been around for a long time, but they don't use it anymore anyway. This year, the Bills lost the Super Bowl, which gave them the distinction of being the only team to ever lose 3 Super Bowls in a row.
Dang.
They went the next year to be the first team to ever make it to 4 Super Bowls in a row. Also hold the distinction of being the only team to ever lose 4 Super Bowls in a row.
Jeez.
It's like, damn, how can you be an amazing team and also fucking not able to close like that, man?
Dude, that was Phillip Rivers his whole life.
Yeah, right. So when we spoke about in 1983 that Martin Luther King Jr. Day was created, that was what you chose as your favorite thing of the year. You kept it, which was a good choice because otherwise this story would have also disappeared. Because we spoke about how we were like, oh, I wonder how long it really took for people to adopt it and for it to become a part of normal life. Because when we grew up, it was something that everybody was on board with. Martin Luther King Jr. Day was a part of life, and we all knew about it. But before 1983, how many people were taught about him, and what was the sentiment like, and was everybody on board with it as it became a holiday? Well, I'll tell you who was not on board with it. That was the Arizona State Legislature. In 1983, the day was created, and it was going to be first observed in 1986, by which point most states had adopted it. Except for Arizona, they were one of the outliers who had not adopted it. Governor Bruce Babbitt issued an executive order to create the holiday after the state legislature had voted against it. When his successor, Evan Meacham, came into office, he rescinded that executive order as saying he shouldn't have been able to come in here. He had no authority to come in here and make a holiday. Plus, he's quoted as saying, Martin Luther King does not deserve a holiday. So it wasn't just, hey, he doesn't have authority, but also, I'm not giving that guy a holiday. So that sentiment that we spoke about was not universal. There wasn't just everybody was excited that this was being something that was observed. Well, who didn't take too kindly to that was King's widow, Coretta Scott King, along with a little buddy of hers by the name of Stevie Wonder, who then spearheaded an entertainment and convention boycott of Arizona. They said, okay, so you guys aren't going to do that, then we're not coming here anymore. No more, definitely no more black artists, but we're going to go ahead and make sure that nobody comes and does anything in your state anymore. Meacham, for his part in all of this, outside of... Meacham was impeached and removed from office in 1988. Not related to this. This guy just turned out to be a piece of shit on his own. For obstruction of justice and financial crimes. So when he was taken out, the legislature finally approved the holiday in 1989, but they had to wait for voters to ratify this movement. At this point, finally, Phoenix was, selected under the condition that the voters vote this into place, that the holiday becomes a holiday. And the voters did not vote it into place. The Arizona voters did not vote positively for the Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So they moved it. The other two choices that had been on the ballot before this had been San Diego and Pasadena. So they went with Pasadena because that's where they already knew they were going to make the most money. They were going to try to move it to Phoenix to get a new location, get some new blood into the thing and do all of that. But, the Phoenicians fucked up their chance. So eventually they were selected as the host for Super Bowl 30. If the next time the vote came around, it went positively. And then the next time, finally, it did. They ratified Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And in 1993, they were chosen to host the upcoming Super Bowl 30. So, came right into one of the conversations we had that, not everybody was on board with Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And, moved the whole Super Bowl because of that.
Yeah.
Good on them. Good on everybody involved in this to be like, no, fuck you, man. We're not doing business in Arizona then. I mean,
yeah.
The NFL, what percentage of the players do you think is black,
Right, especially, yeah, for sure. What the heck? Yeah, that's crazy. And good on the artists, too, for doing that, going out of the way.
Mm-hmm. Stevie Wonder, and it's...
I'm sure plenty others, too.
Mm-hmm. That's, really... cool. I mean, good story because of the fact that it ended positively. I'm happy about that. The other interesting thing about this Super Bowl that is also extremely noteworthy, and we've talked a little bit about this too, is that the prior year, in 1992, there was some counter-programming that had gone on, which essentially is putting something up against the Super Bowl that should draw an audience. Normally you go, I'm not going to compete, right? You don't want to compete with the Super Bowl because it's going to be where everyone's eyes are at the time. But during halftime, a special episode of In Living Color premiered. in 1992, and everybody switched over and watched in living color, and then came back to the Super Bowl. So at that point, the NFL went, we need to spice up our halftime shows. We need to make people want to stay here on this channel. So in 1993, they booked Michael Jackson, which is the first time they ever booked a big, huge artist to play and be like this enormous spectacle. To go back to what I was saying earlier, even the sports world is like, we need to, it can't just be that these artists are like, oh, this is good, this is entertainment. Because they used to have like marching bands and stuff like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, or just like folk band. They'd have like weird stuff to just, keep people entertained during halftime. You know, we're here for football. But this is the year that it started to go, hey, halftime shows are pretty cool. And it feels like something that would have been always a part of football, but it's, been an invention, at least, in our lives.
Yeah, I mean, but I feel like, didn't the Beatles do the halftime show?
I don't think so. Let's see.
I don't know. I thought they did.
Paul McCartney performed in 2005. That's the closest we got. The Stones played, but that was also during our lives.
Yeah, that was after. Huh, interesting. I don't know why. That's cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, it's...
I don't really particularly like the halftime shows these days, but...
There were a couple of years, I remember being a kid, that it was... Well, I mean, it was a sort of a new thing, Like, in 2003, it had only been going on for 10 years. So, like, the 10th anniversary of, like, a fun halftime show. So, yeah, I remember it being, like... It seemed to be... It got more and more important for a while until then eventually it just, everything that happens with everything. It goes up and up and up and then plateaus and comes down. But there was a point where it was like, oh, who's playing the halftime show this year? You would be talking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least for a lot of people. Especially non-sports fans. And that's what it did. And that's what the point was, to get people to watch. Like, the halftime show became something that people watch. Same way that commercials are now. People like to watch the Super Bowl for the halftime show and the commercials, even if they're not a Super Bowl fan. I mean, a football fan. You go home, eat wings and drink beer and watch Michael Jackson perform.
All right. I got one sports story that I want to touch on. The Mighty Ducks on March 3rd were officially recognized as an NHL team.
Oh.
They were in Anaheim, paid for and sponsored by Disney.
That's
and
so
they were
funny.
based off the extremely popular Mighty Ducks movie. And they played their first game on October 8th, and they lost.
That is something that I think people, if you're not really that much of a sports fan, or you could even be a sports fan, but not everybody's that into hockey. And, I wager there's a huge portion of people that are not aware of the fact that team was started by Disney. It was a marketing.
They're based off the movie.
Yeah, it was based from the movie. Like, Disney bought a team and started a team to sell their movie that just came out. Like, that's insane. That's so funny. There's not I don't know. It's such a singular thing that I just can't imagine there being, fucking the NBA. It's like, oh, we have the Seattle Tyler Durdens or something like that. Like, you don't just do marketing tie-ins with movies, but they did.
The Space Jams.
Yeah. Maybe I could have chosen a sports movie. It would have made more sense.
That'd be a good team, though.
The Monstars. Like, yeah, it would be. It really would be like if there was the Anaheim Monstars that came out because Disney did Space Jam, or I guess that'd be Warner Brothers. Yeah, but anyway, that is so funny to me that's. They were really. I mean, can you imagine being a professional, especially hockey too? It's such a tough guy sport. You'd be like, what team you on? The Mighty Ducks.
Like, shut the fuck.
Weren't they?
Even
were
the
called
kids
Mighty
make
Ducks
fun
too,
of it
right?
in the movie.
Yeah, right. I know you guys are on the Disney, to the team that's that kids sports movie. Were they were the Mighty Ducks too at first, right? That was their name.
Yep.
Yeah, that's so funny. That's so funny.
And then
because they became the Ducks later.
Yeah, when I think Disney sold them, that's when they got their like orange jerseys. I gotta say, it was way cooler with their white jerseys and the whole Ducks logo.
Yeah,
and
for
everything.
sure. That logo is so cool. It is.
Yeah,
it is badass.
Now
I mean,
it's just
the
that
team,
stupid D.
and they played at the Duck Pond. That was sick too. Like, that was their stadium name. Like, the team had such good branding and identity, and it made enough sense that I, as a child, because I mean this was 1993, I was 1 year old. I didn't see this shit as it happened. So I assumed that the team had come first. That makes way more sense, that these guys these kids named themselves after a professional team,
Yeah, once I found that out, I was like, dang, that's lame.
Yeah, it's very
not
silly.
as cool. All right, well, let's go through some of the champions this year. The Super Bowl champions were the Dallas Cowboys. The World Series champions were the Toronto Blue Jays. The NBA champions were the Chicago Bulls. And the Stanley Cup champions were the Montreal Canadiens.
You know, it's so funny when there's a team like I just don't follow hockey, so sometimes there's a team where I'm like, oh yeah, that's a team. You know?
Yeah, two Canadian, the Toronto and Montreal.
Oh, that's cool.
Two
Big year for
Canadian
Canada.
champions. Mhm.
And you know, the '90s was a big decade too, because you know you had the Raptors were a huge team back then in the NBA. But I also want to point out huge year for the NBA because this was the third year of Jordan's three-peat.
Yep. And then he retired.
He retired right after this, then came back and did another three-peat, then retired again. So actually, this year was his third ring in a row, but also when he joined minor league baseball in Chicago. I think he joined up with the White Sox this year, and I think the next year is when he actually played his first game.
Oh, yeah.
And then he only
his
played a
dad
year with
died
them and
this
then
year.
stopped. Man, what a year for him.
Yeah, his dad died, and I think that was part of the reason he retired.
It's got to be, man. Being on, it's so crazy to be on top of the game that hardcore. You just won 3 times in a row. Take a year off, come back and win 3 more times in a row. That's so wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, now I'm not gonna do the same.
Where?
Where do you watch sports, ladies and gentlemen? You all say it with me. You watch it on television.
TV.
All right. What were some of the debut shows that came out in 1993? You have The X-Files, big debut TV show. Did you ever watch The X-Files? I've seen like 1 episode.
Yeah, I've pretty much seen like 1 episode too. I've never really watched it.
I've just watched the one that's like where there's weird people living under the bed. That is like supposedly was so scary that they stopped showing it on TV.
Was it good?
I mean, I didn't think it was that frightening, but the world was a different place back then. You didn't really have TV shows like The Walking Dead and stuff like that. You know?
Yeah.
So this, no, it's not as grotesque as like The Walking Dead. Which isn't even really a horror show.
No, but was it like a good episode?
It was cool. It was a good episode. It wasn't supernatural. That's the other thing. It was a reality-based episode, and I think that's what really I guess people were used to turning on the show and be like, what's Bigfoot going to do? And they're like, oh, God, turn this off. What's wrong with you? It's supposed to be fantasy. Some other shows that came out, Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Babylon 5. So big year for sci-fi TV shows with numbers in the title. You also had Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, as well as Walker, Texas Ranger. So also some big Western-themed shows, and the names of the kids on Talladega Nights. Remember that scene? She's like, we named him Walker and Texas Ranger.
Oh,
if we
yeah,
wanted to be sissies, we would have named him Dr. Quinn and Medicine Woman. And then some sitcoms, which were still a big deal in the 90s. Frasier, The Nanny, Living Single, and Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, all debuted this year. Lois and Clark's not really a sitcom, but kind of. But Living Single and The Nanny are 2 of my favorites, and Frasier's, people love that show.
Did you say Boy Meets World? I mean, it's like a sitcom, right?
Yeah, that is a sitcom. I got there's a couple of kids shows, because there also was The Adventures of Pete and Pete, speaking of child sitcoms.
Okay.
I loved Boy Meets World as a kid so much.
Yeah, me too. I watched it for a long time, even when they got older.
Yeah, it's crazy how long that show. It feels like it went on for like decades, but I think they really only had like 8 seasons or something. It just happened to be right at the point in their lives where he was like 11 when it started, and then like a full-grown adult man at the end of it.
Yeah.
But it just happened to be those ages where you're like, man, I remember him being really small and like having a high-pitched voice, and at the end of it, he's in college and they're married and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
he's in,
grew up
middle
with them.
school or something when when it starts.
I grew up watching Corey and Topanga live their lives and get into a romance and go off to college and all that. Also for kids, you got Legends of the Hidden Temple and Bill Nye the Science Guy. Fantastic shows. As well as, why were the Power Rangers the top-selling toy of the year? Well, that's because the TV show had come out.
Yeah, I loved that show when I was a kid.
Got a T-shirt here with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Anyway, that was one of my favorite shows as a kid. I'd never, though, watched any other iteration of them. I watched up until the movie, and then that was it. I never saw Dinosaur Wars or, like, Samurai Showdown or whatever the fuck the other ones are called. Space Force. Oh, and then also, man, we got a plethora of cartoons that came out this year.
That's what yeah, for sure.
Beavis and Butthead. You know,
Yes, great.
that's kind of the big adult cartoon from the year. But the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you got Beavis and Butthead, where they're you know, talking about fire, and these guys, they're really glorifying Satan, in my opinion.
Talk about butts.
The other end of that spectrum, if you got to cleanse your soul, you go on, you put on VeggieTales for the first time. Those Christian vegetables. I used to like that. I was a kid. I was in church all the time. I loved VeggieTales. Also, Animaniacs and Rocko's Modern Life. Fantastic shows. I mean, just a plethora of things that I watched that probably aren't that well known anymore, like, you know, Madeline and Bonkers, the Droopy Master Detective, when Droopy Dog was a detective show. SWAT Cats and Two Stupid Dogs, Biker Mice from Mars. It feels like I'm just making things up at this point, but these were real shows that kids liked.
I listened to this podcast called The Adventure Zone. Shout out, they're great. They do a whole D&D series on, they call them abdomals, and it's based on 90s shows with animals that have abs. So Biker Mice from Mars and like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and
Street Sharks. And
Street Sharks. So it's like all based on that. It's a good one.
That's good. Yeah, lots and lots of cool TV shows.
Coast to Coast.
Oh, did that come out this year?
93 did.
I did not have that written down. Dang, cool. Yeah, lots of really cool
The Pink Panther
TV shows, but all of that having come out, still the top TV show in the world for this year was 60 Minutes. It's funny how often 60 Minutes is number one. For a long time. I guess really we're probably not going to see it. I would venture to guess not after 1993 to 60 Minutes show up in the top 10, because after this point is when people start getting able to access the internet and get their news that way. I think that was probably where 60 Minutes came from, you know? It was like you watch the morning news or whatever, but this is where you find real stories and stuff. So,
well, yeah, it's like watching a podcast versus listening to the news, I guess, because you get an hour of like actual facts and not just like highlights,
or like talk shows. Even like I'd way rather hear an interview with somebody on a podcast for an hour talking about what they want to talk about versus being on, the Tonight Show and promoting whatever they're talking about and having to answer canned questions.
Yeah. Speaking of talk shows, did you say the Late Night Show with Conan O'Brien?
Oh, no, I skipped over my little late night segment. You're right. Late Night Show with Conan O'Brien, as well as the Late Show with David Letterman. Late Night Wars.
Oh, yeah.
Going hard. And also Ricky Lake, her talk show, started this year as well. So I guess it's the same thing. 90s was a big time for talk shows. People still, maybe I guess that's part of it. People were getting their news now from the internet, but it's like, what about these celebrities? Social media wasn't a thing yet, and you want to find out more and more about people. So as gossip magazines and things start to take hold too, I think talk shows really had obviously they had been big for forever, but the 90s was their last huge hurrah.
And yeah, now they're getting canceled. People aren't really watching them anymore or taking them seriously, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I've never enjoyed them anyway. I kind of like watching old clips from, like old shows and things like that, Ed Sullivan and stuff like that. It's like neat to see because there was no other way to watch stuff from back then or like get to know any kind of celebrities and stuff. So you're like, wow, Cary Grant was so interesting or whatever. But we don't need it anymore. So, unfortunately, that's not. But also, it's something that there's no art form to it. There's no like. They're not trying to put on a good show. They're trying to just make it be as palatable as possible. We got to make sure all these questions are things people are going to want to know the answer to, and this guy's going to want to answer the questions, and blah blah blah. We don't want to rock any boats, so it's not fun.
Send them a list of questions before they get approved or not, things like that.
Okay, well, you know what I approve of. Moving on to the music.
I approve as well. Let's do it. Grab that record player.
Here we go.
Spin that shit.
Wiki blick 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 blick. You definitely heard a lot of record scratches this year in the year 1993. We're about to talk about the top 5 songs on the Billboard charts. If you check out our playlist on Spotify, we've got the top 10 songs, followed by 40 songs from the top 100, and then some other songs. I feel like there's like 60 other songs this week. I put a bunch of stuff. this week on the playlist that had come out and had not made the top 100. So look at it and awe at what there's a lot of stuff that lasted that didn't make the top 5. But dear listener, are you younger than us? Do you recognize any of these songs? Because that's always the biggest shocker, man. When you see the songs that had lasting impact versus the songs that had impact in the year, they came out. Number 5 on the list
is Freak Me by Silk. Lose Control, written by Keith Sweat with collaborators Roy Murray and Anthony Johnson. Silk, a 5-member group from Dakar, Georgia, and this song came out on February 18th, 1993. Super controversial song, so I'm surprised it did so well because they were actually describing the acts of...
They were explicit.
Yeah, very explicit. So, like I said, surprised that it did so well, but, sometimes you got to have that baby making music.
Yeah, no, it was kind of a big landmark song in that respect. Like, there had been some songs that did well on the charts, but never to this extent with this level of sexuality in it, And it just kind of showed that audiences, their values and things were shifting, I guess, and not that immediately this is something that's unmarketable. If this had come out 10 years prior, it's something... You can go back and find music in the 80s, the 70s, the 60s that's very explicit, but it's not something that ever made it even to the radio early on or ever had any kind of lasting impact or any commercial success. They buried that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
But, I talked about on a year, one of the 90s years, the 90s was really when we got extremely open about sex, as a culture. Like, this is kind of goes to show 1993, we're starting it off, and Freak Me makes the top 5. It spent 2 weeks at the top of the charts at number 1, but it also spent 10 weeks at number 2. So it was just a song that was in the public consciousness for a long time. So Keith Sweat was a prominent musical artist of the day. Silk, their manager, was married to Keith Sweat's road manager. So then at a 4th of July barbecue, they were all there at the same time, and Silk sang a song for Keith Sweat, and he was so impressed with them at this barbecue that he was like, "Hey guys, come on the road with me." So they started singing backup for him. Eventually, they started opening for him. He wrote and produced their album for them, and got them a deal with the label that he was on. So he just kind of took them all under his wing and was like, "Yeah, I'm going to make these guys a success." And he really, ultimately he did. They got a lot of success on this song. This one, though, was not a single at first. So they knew no one's going to listen to this. This is way too erotic, for God's sake. We can't have people driving around with giant boners. So they were like, we're not going to have this one come out. The song that was initially the single was called Happy Days, and it featured Keith Sweat. They were like, we're going to have the one with the famous guy on it that's not super sexual. That'll be the single. When they sent that record out to radio stations, they were like, well, we're playing this one. So they all stopped playing the single and started playing Freak Me. And then the Elektra, the record label, was like, I guess we got to release it as a single. So they did so, and it, blew up. Also, another thing that was interesting was it repopularized using freak like this in this style of like sexuality. It was a big thing in the 70s, Super Freak and La Freak and those types of songs like that, but it kind of fell off. It wasn't really in fashion anymore. And so they kind of were doing a cool retro throwback slang thing and repopularized it and kind of, stuck around for a while.
Yeah, people still use it that way, for sure, after all these years.
Yeah, and it is like, I wonder if they hadn't, brought it back, if it probably would have not necessarily come around again. Like I'm always shocked when I watch old movies and things, and the term ball was used for sex.
I've never
this,
heard that before.
Oh, we were balling. Yeah, we used to ball. Oh, sometimes, that girl will ball anyone. And it's like, we don't say that at all. It's not even, it doesn't even doesn't hit your ear even in a sexual way, because that context has been removed. We decided not to keep doing that. And Freak very well could have done the same thing if it wasn't for Silk. So thanks, Silk.
Sure.
All right, moving on to number 4 on the list. We got That's the Way Love Goes by Janet Jackson. Song came out April 13th of 1993 and spent 8 weeks on top of the charts. Lead single off of her 5th album called Janet. This only took 3 weeks from coming out to hitting number 1. So it came out 3 weeks later, was already at the top of the charts, which is the second fastest rising single ever behind Can't Buy Me Love.
Damn.
So she's one of the most successful artists of all time. It always shocks me when I find out how, like, I knew Janet Jackson as being a very popular musical artist, but I thought, like, oh, yeah, she's Michael Jackson's kid sister and she's popular for that or whatever. But, man, she was, you know, as famous as he was on her own.
Yeah, she had her own success, definitely. Well, her name carried a lot of weight, but at the same time, I mean, when Janet Jackson puts out a new song, I think people are going to go rush to listen to it, or single, album, however she put it out first. But, yeah, I think that probably had a lot to do with it. It just happened to be a song everybody liked, but I think everybody initially was like, we got to go check out the new album, you know?
Well, and this was also kind of her switching up as far as she had been very careful to cultivate a good girl image up until this point. She didn't want to be, you know, there was still stigma against people who went the other route, or, you know, Madonnas of the world and stuff like that. So she was trying to be the good girl. And then at this point, she had just finished her contract with A&M and signed a new record contract with Virgin Records for an estimated $32 to $50 million, which made her the highest paid recording artist at the time.
Damn.
And so, you know, she used the opportunity to be like, I'm going to rebrand myself, and, you know, I'm an adult. You know, she a lot of people don't know, she grew up as a child actor. She did a lot of sitcoms and stuff like that. So it sort of was, you know, the precursor to like a Miley Cyrus type of thing, where it's like, oh, I'm tired of everyone seeing me as Hannah Montana. I got to break out and do my sexy thing now. Janet Jackson did the same thing, but it just took a lot longer for her to get to that point, you know?
Oh. And in less subtle ways.
Then just a little bit of technological backgrounds on this song here. Not technological. A little bit of technical specs here on this song, just to get these information out there. It does sample two songs. James Brown's 1974 Papa Don't Take No Mess, and the Honey Drippers' 1973 song called Impeach the President. Thought that was a very fun, straightforward song. We're going to call this song Impeach the President, you know. And this song won a Grammy for Best R&B Song.
Killing it out there, Janet. I wonder what she's doing nowadays.
I don't know. Speaking of Super Bowl performers, though.
Oh, yeah. And being sexualized.
Yeah, right? She just wrapped up everything we've been talking about all in one thing.
All right, number 3. Fallen in Love with You by UB40. On The Promises and Lies, released on July 27th, originally recorded by Elvis Presley in 1961. UB40 were asked to record this tune for a new film, Honeymoon in Vegas. This was UB40's biggest hit, and it was number 1 in the U.S. for 7 weeks. The guitarist Robin Campbell admitted, we weren't all that happy with the finished version, but we thought it might be used in Honeymoon in Vegas. We were going to scrap it, but we were working on it because we were working on a new album, Promises and Lies, at the time, and we were determined to not put out any cover versions on the album.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. That's so funny that their other big song, and that was probably a conscious decision by them, because the only song that they're known for other than this one is Red Red Wine, which is also a cover, you know? They're just the band that takes regular songs and makes them shitty reggae versions. I hate UB40. I really just, anytime they come on, I'm like, oh, God. I
don't know. I don't feel either way about them, to be honest. It wasn't like I like this song. I wouldn't say I like their version of it, but it wasn't like, I don't dread them by any means.
I love new wave stuff from the 70s and the 80s and late 70s especially. Every new wave, every post-punk band had to have at least one, you know, white guy reggae dance hall song on there. And every time it's just so jarring and it's not done well. And it's just like, I like that you're trying to, you know, be multicultural and incorporate other things, but it just sort of, you're not doing it well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This just never comes across super great. So this band is just that nonstop. Just like the Police. I don't like the Police. Like, the only Police songs that ever made famous were the ones that sound the least like the Police. Like, when they're doing the least reggae stuff is when their songs make it popular, you know?
Yeah.
Like Roxanne and stuff like that, but their regular songs are very, you know.
Yeah, I don't think of them as like
inspired.
a reggae band, but
Yeah,
you're kind of right.
This song is the first single from their 10th album. Like, man, you imagine being around for 10 albums before you get your biggest hit. It's pretty crazy. I'm always shocked when people make, some kind of waves late in their career. It feels like most people get their big stuff out of the way first or second album, but to do it 4 or 5, 10 albums in, that's insane.
Yeah. Well, it's a cover, so I guess they really never did it.
Yeah, it's true. This song is, it was recorded by Elvis in 1961, but it was based on a song that's called Plaisir d'amour. It's a French love song that was composed all the way back in 1784.
Jeez.
Very, very old-ass song. And it was originally written from the perspective of a woman, which is why the first lines don't rhyme in the song. It's, why do fools rush in? Because I can't help falling in love with you. It should be, why do fools rush in? I can't help falling in love with him. So the song would rhyme, but it doesn't because they switched it up to be from a man's perspective.
Gotcha.
Another song that was really big this year was Informer by Snow. And I think that, which is the song where it's a white rapper who's like, Informer.
Yeah.
Which, it's just UB40 and Snow are masters at cultural appropriation. I think that's what it was. That people were interested in Jamaica, that idea of, island stuff. And a white guy's the easiest way to sell it to white people in this country. So,
well,
despite
Bob
the fact
Marley
that
was
there's
huge before this.
Yeah, but that's it, right? He was a novelty act that had come out years before this. So, there wasn't like something that people actually listened to. And so these guys were also novelties, UB40 came in and turned regular pop songs into reggae. So it took a song that audiences in America were familiar with and made it reggaeized, And nobody was listening to reggae or Jamaican rappers, you know what I mean? Snow was the only guy who sounded like that. So I think whether it's, outrightly negative or not, I do feel that that's what was happening. People were interested in this thing, and so they were being shown to it by someone that they were more familiar with, and it was easier to digest. You know what I mean? That happens a lot. And it doesn't mean that UB40 or Snow or have bad intentions for doing so, but they probably were just trying to show something that they liked about a different culture,
Yeah. Every time I hear that song, I think of Jim Carrey doing it on In Living Color.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, I always maintain he could be a musician if he had wanted to. The fact that he can rap that fast in that song is so impressive.
And
he has a good singing voice,
I've seen
too.
him sing something, too.
He sings like Beatles songs. I've heard him sing.
That's what it was.
Yeah, he's got a really good voice. And but that is very funny. It's called Imposter. You can look it up. It's from In Living Color. And the best, I like when he does the Popeye part.
Oh, yeah.
Where he starts rapping like Popeye. Puts his Jim Carrey. Number 2 is Whoomp, parentheses, there it is, by Tag Team. This song came out on May 7th of 1993. It peaked at number 2 for 7 consecutive weeks, but spent a total of 24 non-consecutive weeks in the top 10, which was a record. Until Tony Braxton's Unbreak My Heart did 25 weeks in 1997. So it held the record for a couple of years, but 24 non-consecutive weeks in the top 10.
Damn.
This was a debut single by the album of the same name for the band. The song has a little bit of interesting backstories to it. One of the members, his name was Cecil Glenn. He was the main DJ at Magic City in Atlanta, which is like a super famous strip club. And he played the song. He played his own song there at the strip club, and people kept requesting it. So he knew he had a hit. I mean, this Magic City ended up kind of being like a hub for the music scene in Atlanta for a long time. Like that's where people would come and test out their music. It's kind of an interesting thing. It was just like the big club, basically. And so people liked his song, so he knew he had something on his hands, And they couldn't get a record deal with anyone. They tried constantly to shop the song around. No one wanted to work with them. They were seen as too controversial, too provocative. Their sound was super different than what people were used to hearing. So they just couldn't get a deal anywhere. So he borrowed $2,500 from his parents and pressed 800 records, which sold out just strictly by word of mouth. Then he was talking to somebody, I think at Mercury Records, an executive who told him, listen, there's this guy, Al Bell. He used to be a record executive at Stax. Now he just started his own record company called Bellmark Records, and they're not doing too hot. So you should probably give him a call. If anyone's going to give you a deal, it might be him. He's actually a well-known guy. His company's not doing too great, so we'll see what happens over there. And he signed them without even hearing the song. They spoke on the phone, and there's a quote here that says, "I don't need to hear the record, I hear it in your spirit." Which just tells me his record company was doing really bad.
Yeah.
It's just like, got a phone call where he's like, "Hey man, I sold like 800 of these things around my town." He's like, "Okay, come on in. We're going to record this thing and put it out." Like, "Don't you want to hear it?" "Nope, I can hear it in your spirit. You're one of those guys who got to go get it." Blah, blah, blah. It's like, this guy just was signing anybody, you know? I just picture him in an empty room twiddling his thumbs, waiting for the phone to ring. You know, as soon as it, "Hey, you want a record deal?" You know?
He was like getting ready to foreclose.
Yeah,
Turn
for
off
sure.
the lights, and then he got that phone call.
There's another. So that's all, you know, this is how this guy got his song off the ground. Very cool story of, you know, him working hard. But as with any story, there's always a second side to it. Was he really the man he claimed he was? Is everything actually above board when it comes to this song? Because Woot, Here It Is a song that was released a month prior to Whoop, There It Is by a band called 95 South. I don't know if you heard it on the list. It is, you might have accidentally thought you were listening to the same song again, because this one goes, "Woot, here it is. Woot, here it is. Woot, here it is." It's the same. It is almost the same song, you know. But both labels just maintained it was a coincidence. They were like, "This is lingo that's used in I think they said it, Miami is I think what they said as their like justification, even though one of the groups was from Atlanta." They said, "Well, this is like sports lingo or whatever. This is just something that they're going to say," even though they still sound the same. It's not like they both used the same phrase. But years later, 95 South, the group who came out first with the less known song, years later they said that the other group ripped them off. They said Tag Team stole their song. At the time, it was something people recognized was going on. So Arsenio Hall had both of the groups on his show and had them perform and had the audience call in and vote on who they thought was the better one. I could not find results of this poll, and I couldn't find any videos of it, but I know that it happened. And I would venture to guess Whoop, There It Is was the winner, since they are the more popular song, the only one people know about anymore. But that, you know, part of my thinking here is there's a possibility that when Cecil Glenn was trying to get someone to buy Whoop, There It Is and was going around and getting rejected all over the place, there's a possibility one of those record executives heard the song and went, no, get out of my office. No one wants to listen to that. And after he left, he went, actually, maybe someone will want to listen to that. There's no way that guy's going to make it. Everyone's going to turn him down. I'll just have somebody else do it. And how did it go? What was it? Woot, Here It Is? Something like that? And then he just had somebody else record it based on that. That's my theory. So I don't think either group stole from the other one. I think it was the record executives who just told somebody, hey, just do that again. No, that song's never going to make it, you know? Because everyone, all the real record executives turned him down. It was Al Bell in a room full of loose papers and a sweaty collar going, oh, fuck, rent's due in a week, you know?
Well, he made it, man. Dang, that's crazy. Man, I guess we'll never know. The world
Jock
may never
jams,
know.
though, man.
But if it was a popular song in, like, clubs and stuff, and hundreds of people go to a club every night, and he does it for months on end, it's thousands of people who are like, I can make that song. I can get it popular.
That's true, too. It could have just come from somebody who, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not even just like you're limited to the Atlanta crowd, because it's anybody who went into Atlanta, who was, especially someone part of the hip-hop scene, was going to go to Magic City.
Yeah.
So, yeah, any time within those months, the dudes from 95 South could have gone there and actually stolen it, so, you know, or something else. I mean, there's a million ways I could have gotten out.
It's crazy.
Interesting,
All
eh?
right. Let's move on to number one, shall we?
We shall.
I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston. Written by Dolly Parton in 1974, and that version made number one on the country charts. This version was released on February 14th, 1993, and this was featured in the movie The Bodyguard, which Whitney Houston starred in with Kevin Costner.
This song spent 14 weeks at the top of the Billboard charts, which at the time was a record. So, you know, this was the most popular song ever when it came out, essentially.
Dang.
And
Still is a really popular song.
yeah, and her version is kind of the definitive version, and it's used as like just the song conveys a message immediately when you hear it. You know what feeling you're supposed to feel when you hear it, and it can be used seriously to convey a point in media, or it can be used ironically, at like the end of This Is the End. I think of it immediately coming to mind, when the big demon gets his dick cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just been used perennially, this specific version. Dolly Parton said she liked Whitney's version better than her own. So I thought that was cool of her to say. Dolly Parton's such a gem. This, The Bodyguard was Whitney's film debut. Just worth putting out there, I guess. So, she came out with a banger song to make sure people watched her new movie. And this song, it wasn't just a hit here in the U.S. It just dominated internationally as well. Most places, it went for multiple weeks. I think it was like 13 weeks in the UK, like 9 weeks in Austria, 7 weeks in Chile. Like everywhere it went, it was huge. Like I think there were 2 countries that it made number 1 for like 1 week. But literally everywhere else, it was for weeks and weeks and weeks. And you got to imagine, those places didn't know what she was saying, a lot of them, because they don't speak the language.
But she's such a good singer, though. So.
Yeah, all you're doing is just vibe. That's how good this song is, and her performance of it. Performance was good enough to secure Record of the Year and Best Female Pop Vocal Performance at the Grammys, as well as being selected for preservation by the Library of Congress back in 2020 as being a historically significant song.
Dang.
So there you go. That's Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You. Another cover in the top 5.
Yes, I was going to mention that too. Crazy.
And
not something you see a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, really, to be, I think it's something that I've realized that a lot when I watch movies from the late 90s and early 2000s, is that sometimes, a lot of them, the soundtrack is almost exclusively cover versions of old 60s and 70s songs by modern day bands of the time.
Yeah.
Like a lot of movies. You watch like Clueless and things like that. There's like a lot of these things that there's just covers of songs. I just watched them the other day. I can't remember if this is the same thing. And I realized, it's because these kids were in bands. So they were discovering old music and then going, hey, I want to play that and put our spin on it. But there's no bands anymore, You're not going to cover Three Dog Night by yourself when that's not how production works anymore. You know what I mean? You're just a singer by yourself on the microphone, like singing to their track, or like what would you do? Like have it just be electronically produced? There's no need to cover songs anymore. You can't do that the same way. And it's not like somebody's going to get famous for doing a Lizzo song, or whatever. Like just somebody singing that by themselves.
The last good one was Johnny Cash covering Hurt.
All right. I'm going to just read through this list really quickly and try to remember any of the bands that you want to mention, because there's too many to even stop and say. Artists that debuted in the year 1993. Radiohead, Shania Twain, Sheryl Crow, Faith Hill, Toby Keith, R. Kelly, Tool, Counting Crows, Cranberries, Bjork, Fat Joe, KRS-One, Frank Black, 311, Rancid, Built to Spill, Shaggy, Liz Phair, Amy Mann, Diggable Planets, Toni Braxton, Jamiroquai, Everclear, Verve Pipe, Collective Soul, The Verve, as well as Verve Pipe, UMI, Lords of Underground, Souls of Mischief, Archers of Loaf, Breeders, Belly. They started to get a little more obscure as the list went on, but, some of those. I think it's crazy. Shania Twain, Sheryl Crow, Faith Hill all came out the same year.
That is crazy.
That's probably why
popular.
I would get those ladies confused a lot when I was a kid. Like, I know they don't really sound alike or anything, but they're all just,
Well, now it makes sense because they're all popular at the exact same time.
Yeah, they all came out the same day. That's so weird.
Snoop Dogg. I think you said that one. Radiohead. Those are probably the.
Radiohead, yeah. Snoop Dogg's debut album came out, I guess, by himself. I think he had been releasing music prior and coming out on some other people's stuff. But yeah, this was his first album by himself.
Yeah.
Same thing with like people like KRS-One and stuff. That was his first solo album.
Mm-hmm.
I would have thought, even though I've listened to that album, I thought it was earlier than 93. And then Fat Joe, I think I would have thought he would have come out a little later than 93 too. I didn't realize he was so oily on.
Jamiroquai, I thought was, I knew he was still around, but I just thought he was older than that. Like his music feels older than that.
It does. I definitely agree with you there. It does feel like it could have come out a lot earlier. There's the ones that are towards the bottom of this list that came out but were not in the top 100. There's some shockers, Creep, Gin and Juice, All I Want to Do, Cream by Wu-Tang Clan, You got like Are You Gonna Go My Way by Lenny Kravitz, Heart Shaped Box by Nirvana, and then some of the ones that are just so synonymous with the '90s that also weren't nearly as popular as I thought. Low by Cracker, I'm the Only One by Melissa Etheridge, by the Crash Test Dummies, Mr. Jones by Counting Crows, Shine by Collective Soul. Like these are the songs that when you turn on a '90s rock station, you're gonna hear all of those.
Yeah.
But they weren't popular on the radio at the time.
Salt and Pepper.
Yeah, Shoop. I thought that was. I think it might have come and done better in '94, but in '93 it came out and didn't make the charts. That
Wasn't
that
an
was
immediate hit.
no, yeah, it shocked me.
Yeah, Nirvana, Heart Shaped Box. Yeah, super surprising.
Yeah, especially when you look at the number 100 song on the list. It's number 50 on our Spotify. It's a Def Leppard song.
Oh yeah.
You know, super
Two
weird.
steps
Def Leppard
behind.
comes back and has a top 100 hit, but you know,
It's kind of cool. Good for
yeah,
them.
yeah, right. But
Probably
award
the last
tour
time
or
they would
whatever,
do
like
that.
these things don't make it. Yeah, there's some cool stuff. I was pretty interested in a couple of these songs that were in the top 100. First off, oh no, actually, sorry. Before I get to the top 100, I also have to point out, everyone, you got to go listen to Shaq Diesel if you've never heard his music before. Shaquille O'Neal, his rap album came out in 1993, and that's worth checking out.
That's awesome.
It's pretty funny. But yeah, in the top 100, there was something that was interesting. Oh yeah, Bad Boys, the theme from Cops, was in the top 100, pretty far up. I was shocked by that because Cops came out in the late 80s. And the song was the theme song to that show the whole time. So I was like, why did it pop up in 1993? So I went and just did a little digging on it. And like the band, you know, everybody liked the show Cops and knew about the song from that. And then a couple years later, they released another single. Then that single did well because people recognized them from being on Cops, you know? And so when their record label saw that their new single did well, they re-released Bad Boys as a single in 93, and it sold great, which was crazy for it being that long after the show came out. The show debuted in 1989. So 4 years later, people were still like, I can finally buy Bad Boys? You know?
Good call for them to do that.
Yeah, good for the band that they got some money off of that, you know, because they could have just been left where they were, you know?
Yeah. Aerosmith is in here again. I think that's funny. They just keep popping up.
Any year they have something come out, they make it to the top 100, and that's another one of those things that shocks me. Like, I know I always have known Aerosmith is a popular band, but I just thought they were the same as any other 70s band that's like, oh yeah, they, you know, they're still well known or whatever. It's like, no, man, they were maybe one of the most successful bands from that era. Because
Yeah, continuously at least.
yeah,
right?
you don't see anybody else from their time, Def Leppard, but they came out later, you know?
Yeah.
One that I want to point out and would suggest people go listen to is If I Ever Fall in Love. It was number 7 for the end of the year. It's by a band called Shy, I believe is their name, SHAI, but it's completely a cappella. I thought that was so cool. It sounds
I did
great.
listen to that. I noticed that it was all a cappella. I was like, this is cool that it's in the top like 100.
Yeah, it's really good too. I thought that was a cool song. Other one I had never heard before, but thought was pretty cool, was a song called Diddy by Paperboy. I thought it was funny because Paperboy is the name of the rapper on the show Atlanta that like Donald Glover's the manager of. And I remember on the show I was like, what a cool name for a rapper, Paperboy. That's fucking sick. Well, apparently he was already a rapper who was out in the early 90s. So Donald Glover, you didn't do your homework when you named that character, sir. It's a cool name. It's still a cool name, and it's a really cool song. I was pretty impressed by it. Thought, damn, that sucks that this guy didn't like blow up, because it's a neat song with like a unique sound to it. It's very melodic and stuff like that. It's got a cool beat. The production on it's not great, but you know, it sold pretty well. So I didn't really look into that guy too much more. But I wonder if he didn't do well enough that even Donald Glover knew what his name was when he was naming his character in his show. So
Yeah, right.
okay, that's all the music I have.
Yeah.
The last album I want to point out that came out this year, but there's nothing on Spotify for it, so I couldn't put it on the list, is Adam Sandler's They're All Gonna Laugh at You. His comedy album came out in 1993, and it's pretty good. I'm not like the world's biggest Adam Sandler fan, but I find it very, very funny. So if you haven't heard it, check it out.
I feel like I've heard songs from it.
It's the one where like he put the Thanksgiving song out on that album, but a lot of it's stand up or not even stand up. A lot of it's just like skits. Like, okay, enough music. So we now turn our attention to the final event of the evening. We
It's our
are
phone projector.
skateboarding. That's
Oh.
the sound of the wheels on the
No,
concrete.
it's a film projector.
Oh man, damn it! I'm so bad at audio
Or
charades.
it's a very quiet minigun.
We're about to talk about movies. The number one movie in the country is where we turn our attention for this portion of the show. That movie in the year 1993. Sometimes it's hard to figure out, was this one the number one? Is which one do you think really is this counting the re-releases, stuff like that? This one was a 100% no questions asked. You know the movie. Everyone has to have seen this shit. They're still making these damn things. One just came out the other day, I feel like. The movie of the year for 1993 came out on June 11th. We're talking Jurassic Park, the classic film directed by Steven Spielberg, with a screenplay by Michael Crichton along with David Koepp, based on Michael Crichton's novel of the same name. Budget of $63 million. The gross in 1993 was a whopping $338.9 million. And this movie starred Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, and Richard Attenborough. Jurassic Park. One of the most excited I've been to turn on a movie this podcast.
Good. I love this movie. Do you want to give it a synopsis?
Oh, yes, I have it right here. Hold on one second. Okay, if you somehow don't know the story of Jurassic Park, I don't know if this is going to help you, buddy. I'll read it for you anyway, though, folks. On a remote island, a wealthy... Okay, sorry, I do want to also say, I specifically, when I was looking for a synopsis for the movie, I was like, it's always hard to tell. Where do I want to go? Amazon, or is it going to be the best on IMDb, whatever. So I decided to turn to the VHS. This is lifted directly from the back of the VHS case. On a remote island, a wealthy entrepreneur secretly creates a theme park featuring living dinosaurs drawn from prehistoric DNA. Before opening the attraction to the public, he invites a top paleontologist, a paleobotanist, a mathematician/theorist, and his two eager grandchildren to experience the park and help calm anxious investors. However, their visit is anything but tranquil as the park's security system breaks down, the prehistoric creatures break out, and the excitement builds to surprising results. Gotta tell you, back cover, wasn't too surprised with the results of the things you listed. Like, maybe I'd be surprised that they got out or something, but when you say the security system broke down, the creatures break out, and the excitement builds, there's only one way it's going. Like,
They all have tea parties.
yeah,
with the
I guess you're right.
dinosaurs.
This is probably the least surprising result. They eat everyone. What the fuck? They come out and they go, listen, humans, we must discuss what you've been doing to us. Goes against the nature of God and man. Jeff Goldblum is right.
You guys never heard of chaos theory?
Please put out your hand. Watch as this water droplet falls off the left side. Now where will it go next time?
Did you read the book ever?
No, I didn't. I saw that it came out a couple years prior, and I thought maybe I think I might read it the year that it came out. Although I feel like I might have actually tried to read it in 1993 if I was like, ooh, a movie's coming out based on this book. Who knows? So I could have, but
1990 is when it came out, but the book is so good. It's amazing how good it is.
Is it a similar, like, the morals of it and things like that? Is it harsher in ways, or does it have different things to say?
The biggest differences, I would say, are John Hammond's character. John Hammond's character is more of like sadistic, more of like the bad guy in the books. He like doesn't care that his kids or his grandkids are like lost in the forest with all the security systems down. Like he just seems to be worried about like saving his park and saving the things that he's done.
That seems a bit more one-dimensional, a little more obvious,
Yeah,
I really like that they changed it for the movie because that really is. He's one of the more interesting characters in his position in a movie because it's very easy to make it be he's driven by profit because we've seen that in a billion movies, and he's actually, and he really doesn't care about his grandkids. But the fact that that's his first thought, like when he gets a chance, he finally tells the guy, like, I wonder if you would go be kind enough to take a Jeep and pick up my grandkids for me. Like he still is like being he knows everything's falling apart, and he wants money, he's greedy. Ultimately, he's in the wrong, but he still is like, I don't know, I guess nice about it. Like, so it's cooler.
Yeah, I think that his portrayal of it is like gave it like the old man feel character.
It comes across as well intentioned.
Yeah. Then, well, to speak on him, John Hammond ends up dying in the book.
Okay.
Basically, like from his own selfishness.
Gets his own just desserts.
And then, the beginning starts out like the other Jurassic Park book or movie where it's the couple on the island with the little girl and she gets eaten by those little dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And then shortly after, that happens after the first part. The first part of the book, somebody is in like a hospital in South America and he has like huge gash wounds across him and he's dying and he's trying to explain what happens.
Bet you're wondering how I got here, huh?
Yeah, right. And that's what John Hammond's trying to cover up. It wasn't like no one died like in the beginning of the movie, but yeah, he's trying to like convince investors that this is still a good idea.
Right. Which is, softened a lot in this one, where it's sort of like, we don't need there to be some big, obviously investors are going to be wary of this to begin with, and then a handler dies in the beginning, which I think is appropriate. I don't think it needs to be, because if it's a kid, then and the guy's evil outright, you're just like, this shouldn't, this is now turns into an action movie or something where it's like, this guy must be stopped. Like he's letting kids die and he doesn't care about his grandchildren. Where in this case, it's like, oh, okay, well, somebody died, but we can fix that. It's realistic. Although, I guess the other version is probably realistic too, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a really, really good book. I definitely suggest it. There are a lot other, differences. Those are the biggest ones. Characters, like they do in all movies and adaptations, they combine character elements together. Grant isn't like he's more of like a burly guy with a beard, less like scientific, more heartfelt towards like the kids. Has like a softer side in the book. So and then they combine the lawyer's character with somebody else. And then the kids are flipped. The boy's older, and he's like the computer nerd in the like dinosaur kid still, and then it's like a little girl who it's a lot more. The only person who's like true to character is
Goldblum,
the girl.
Oh,
Goldblum is more of a scientist type,
less of a rock star.
Yeah, exactly.
As they describe him.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. Usually, when I hear about changes to books and things, I'm like, oh, I don't know why they did that. Usually, I'm kind of feel like the author got it right the first time. This is the first time I've ever heard where I think basically every single thing they changed was for the better. It's way more interesting to have Grant not want to be with the kids the whole time. It's way more interesting to make him have to like learn to. He doesn't even want to see them. He doesn't want to be near them in the beginning. He's like running away from the child.
Yeah.
To then have to like save their lives, to then have to like comfort them and things like that's way more interesting. So making the Hammond not be just some terrible evil man. He cares about his grandkids. He wants them back. Like those are all really cool choices to make. Also, I think flipping the kids' ages, like an older boy, not to
protecting
be
his little
sexist, but it
sister.
makes he's more equipped to help out his little sister than an older sister is to help out her younger brother. In terms of helping them physically do things around, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I do think a little girl is maybe a little bit more like helpless in terms of like having a character that you can't like, oh shit, they can't do anything for themselves. You know what I mean? Like they tend to be written that way at the very least, so that might have been something, but that's cool. I like all those choices. This movie, I guess the audience liked the choices too, because it was the highest grossing movie ever up until that point. And was the first movie to ever hit 1 billion bones.
Damn.
Dinosaur bones. Steven Spielberg received about $250 million from the movie's gross and profit. So that's the most any individual person has ever gotten in terms of money going to just one guy. So $250 million richer thanks to Jurassic Park.
It's crazy. This is a great movie. I watched this movie on repeat when I was a kid.
Yeah, one of my favorites growing up.
My grandpa wanted to throw it out the window, and I watched it so often.
A couple of alternative casting things. I always enjoy those, so I wrote down a couple of different choices they had. Charlie Sheen was one of the original choices for Nedry.
Interesting.
Yeah, the character that went to Wayne Knight. He was cast after they saw him in the movie Basic Instinct, which I've never seen. I just thought it was like, oh, it's not from. You just assume it's Seinfeld is like why he's famous, but he got this role from being in Basic Instinct, so like that's what kind of kicked him off, I guess.
Never
So
seen
cool. Yeah, neither have I. He's so good in this too, though. He's like a perfect cast. Like, can you imagine if it was Charlie Sheen? How weird would that be?
it. That would be super weird. He was a good casting decision for sure.
Yeah, I mean he plays it so well because he's like dorky and stuff, but doesn't come across as being like
Incompetent.
yeah, or like overly geeky or something like that. Like he still is like kind of cool and funny when he's like, Dodson, we got Dodson here. We got Dodson
Yeah.
here. See, nobody cares. Like he's good at his lines and stuff. Like he's funny, when he's like chatting with the dinosaur that kills him, and he's like, oh, I thought you were one of your older brothers. You're not so bad. He's like good at giving lines. That scene, I know everyone talks about that, but that was really fucking scary to me as a kid.
Yeah, for sure. When it popped up in the car.
Yeah, man, the movie really is like, it's the same thing with Jaws, actually, also Spielberg, that it's just as close as you can get to being a horror movie while still somehow being a movie you can take your kids to.
Yeah, for sure.
Both of them are like, you really are not wrong if you call either of these movies horror movies. And I think it's the fact that they're like animals that make it less of a scary thing, but it's like, man, they're being stalked and like hiding behind the corner and the things jumping over them, like
Yeah.
their lives are in mortal danger.
They're
and you're
like
sitting
being
there like
hunted the whole time.
yeah, you're gripping your seat, and like the only difference is if you make it way less of a dangerous thing that's in the room with them, a guy with a knife, as opposed to like a murderous creature that can tear through them in a second. Like it's just a guy who has to chase them. Now suddenly it's a horror movie, But like a literal monster with fangs in its mouth and claws and stuff like that. Now, it's an action movie. We can let's take the kids, they'll love it.
We talked about it a little bit before, but the animatronic use
Yeah.
in this movie was so cool. Was so good.
The movie is known for its use of computer generated imagery and the landmark stuff it did with that, which it is, we can talk about that in a second, but it's just as great when it comes to the animatronics. I mean, they are better than you see in almost any other movie. They look amazing.
And they're inspecting, like with the vet, that one dinosaur that's sick. Dude, it looks so good. The way he's like laying on it and everything, it just gives you a different sense of
So specifically
reality.
that scene, the story behind it is that what's his face? Alan Grant, Sam Neill, that when he got to set and saw the animatronic dinosaur laying there, his first reaction was to go lay on it and feel it breathing because it just was so cool and it looked so real, and that was just his actual reaction to seeing it. So they filmed it and put it in the movie. Dang,
that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, it just shows the awe of it. And seeing him do that, you're like, oh my God, it's real. He's really doing that. It's actually moving. It's really breathing, And most of the close-up shots of the raptors and stuff like that is also, it's a composite, but it's mostly them in frame for real with practical effects. A lot of the bigger dinosaurs are the things, or the big groups of dinosaurs are where they used CGI. And that stuff, I think it still miraculously holds up so well. And in some ways, it looks better than movies do nowadays. You know? I think things are too shiny now and like too much detail, where this is like things are far enough away, like we can just make it kind of a matte color and it looks realistic. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that just there was also a weird time frame between I don't know what to call it, but like between special effects. Like there were special effects now, like that in 1993, and then there's special effects that are going on now in 2025 that are just like, I feel like they're two different concepts. I don't feel like they're using an improved version of it. I feel like they're using
they're just doing a different thing.
Totally different thing than they were back then.
That's like, how my intro, what I was talking about, I mean, the same kind of thing I feel like happens with music a lot of times, where it's like production goes from this thing where they had to like put so much work in, but it made magic possible. And then there was a thing that now a machine does all that, and now you can instantly spit it out, and things just got worse. Like there's not, you just now can, when you start at this base level and then, we can build from there. But I think that part of it is earned, and takes, I don't know if it, but something we do know about this movie is there was a lot of money went into this. This was cutting edge stuff, a lot of time, a lot of money and effort, and this was breaking barriers, you know? So this was like something they took seriously, and that's why it looks great and still holds up. Versus stuff now where it's like, well, we know the technology. We know what we can put into it, and we're going to figure out how to do it for as little money as possible. And it's not like, oh, let's make it cheap or whatever, but they're saying we're not going to put in all of the effort and money we can. And this guy, you know, he's one of the biggest directors in the world. He's proven to be, so we're going to put everything we can here, you know? Mm-hmm. And now any director can get some CGI to do in their movie, you know, and a lot of times they are not able to use practical effects. They're told, no, it's cheaper to go this route, you know? So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's that, yeah, we kind of started just buying into the spectacle of things, going, oh, we can reproduce the spectacle. That's easy, you know, as opposed to the fact that it was the art. The art was creating the spectacle. That took time and effort.
Well, they knew that they could, but they never stopped to ask if they should.
That's a very, very good point. It's sort of like a fireworks show versus a drone show. I'm never going to be that impressed by a drone show. I'm like, oh, cool, you flew things around in a pattern. But every fucking time I see a firework that's a smiley face, I'm like, how do they do it? How do they make sure it exploded in the air? Somebody had to form that down here, and they had to figure out how to make it happen up there. And that still is cool to me. But I'm never going to care that, what the drones did a new thing? Cool, you know, whatever. It's the technology doesn't just automatically make the spectacle, even though it looks similar. It doesn't make it the same because it's not earned. It's not, oh, how did they do that, you know? And I still love watching old 80s movies and seeing practical effects and going, man, how did they do that? How did they get the guy's head to look like it chopped off so cleanly? I don't know. Now I see a movie and I'm never watching it and going, how did they chop that guy's head off? Oh, I don't know. A computer did it, and I know that immediately, and your brain knows. And
they put a green burlap sack over his head.
Yeah. And it's not, your brain just automatically recognizes it as that, and that pulls you, you know, I guess it's like the intent is to not make you think about the movie and how it's made and stuff, and you're just watching the story. But I think for so many people, the movie making is part of the magic, and even if people don't realize it, I think that still matters to them, even if they don't know that, and that's why people don't like movies anymore as much as they used to, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Good job, Jurassic Park, for being really one of the last great examples of actually putting in a ton of effort to make the spectacle, to make the style equal to the substance.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. What of 1,993 bones?
1,993 Jell-O pudding cups. Or not pudding, Jell-O cups.
Jell-O molds.
Yeah. 1,993 Jell-Os.
I don't know, man. I like this movie a lot. I'm going to say 1,893.
I was thinking the same thing. I was going to say, like, I don't know, 1,900. We'll just have a quorum for this week. 1,893. That is the official rating of Jell-Os for Jurassic Park. So now, it's never in dispute again. If anyone ever asks you, hey, how many Jell-Os is Jurassic Park? You can say, oh, it's 1993, indisputably. There was a quorum. Man, just like the music of this year, there's so many movies, you know?
Yeah.
Just so many all-time classics. It's hard to even get through the list. Got to try to just go one at a time, I guess, here. We're looking at some critical darlings that came out this year. I think the biggest one is Schindler's List.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. Have you?
I haven't watched it since forever. It's been probably since I was like 12. Like, I haven't seen a movie in forever. But yes, I have seen it before.
One of my favorite movies that came out this year is Tombstone.
Great movie.
Fantastic.
Probably one of the best movies ever made.
One of the best Westerns, hands down.
Probably the best Westerns, hands down. Like,
it's the best modern Western, for sure.
Yeah, there are old ones that are good, too. One of my favorite movies that came out this year is Dazed and Confused.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I love that movie. I mean, I try to show it to people, and I don't think it resonates with people because it's not really a storyline. They don't really like do much.
I miss movies like that. Just
kids like hanging out, and I fucking love that movie so much.
And it's so cool because when you think about it, it's like it's just such a cool movie to sit there and go like, oh yeah, there's the part where they're like in the bedroom and they're like, and the guys come with the kegs. Oh, and then there's the part where they're like in the pool hall and like. Then he goes and has to buy the beer, like with his, he has to pretend he's 18. Oh, there's a part where like they're all running out of school. It's like just a bunch of cool ass parts, you know?
Yeah.
And each one is just really fun and memorable. The part where they're all getting hazed, the part where they're all at the party in the woods. Like, it's such a good movie, man. I'm going to have to rewatch that soon. One of the movies that came out that's not super well known about, that I will just highlight a little bit, Benny and June. I remember loving that movie as a kid. It stars Johnny Depp. And he's sort of like a weird, he's probably autistic nowadays is what you would call him. Back then, he was just a strange guy. He really idolized Buster Keaton, so he like barely ever talked, and he did a lot of physical comedy. And it's just a cool role for Johnny Depp that you're not used to seeing him do, where he kind of gets pawned off on this couple where the girl, she's like, obvious, she's also like super high funk, or she has a high level of autism, I guess. I don't know how they describe it in the movie, but she's, you know, sensory things get to her a lot, and then he's also a strange guy, and they end up kind of falling in love with each other. And it's a really cool story. And like I said, a lot of him doing Buster Keaton bits, Johnny Depp just doing, you know, physical comedy stuff. So I haven't seen it in a while, and I don't know how well it aged, you know, because now, like I said, it's their conditions seem to have been something that now we understand more, and I don't know exactly how it was handled back then because I haven't watched it in a long time. So
I don't think I've ever seen it. What's it called?
Benny and June, and
Nope,
June is spelled
never-
with two O's.
never
It's
seen
very it's an unknown movie, but it's cool. I liked it as a kid at least. You got for Mike Myers, you had Wayne's World 2, as well as So I Married an Axe Murderer.
it. Oh yeah,
Have you seen the Axe Murderer?
yeah. Not in a long
Weird
time, but I have.
movie.
Yeah,
It's a very
definitely
strange
weird.
movie. I liked it, but it's super weird.
Yeah, you get a lot of Austin Powers vibes from it because he just kind of has the same diet,
Well,
Scottish accent.
Yeah, he
and,
does
like,
his dad in the movie where he's got the Scottish accent, and
Yeah.
it's the same voice as Shrek and Fat Bastard too. Like, it's,
yeah.
but it's precursor to both of those. And you're like, oh, hey, it's just funny to hear that voice coming out of a different man. Two other comedies that came out this year. CB4 is a movie that stars Chris Rock, and it's sort of a it's like a parody of a tale of a NWA type group. CB4 stands for Cell Block 4, and like basically he and his friends are sort of like from a suburban area, and they decide they're going to be like a gangster rap group, and they just start fronting about how they came from the hood and things like that, and then it's just the story of how they come to success and things like that. It's pretty funny. It's also not super well known, and the songs in it are pretty good too. The same year, we also had Fear of a Black Hat came out, which is sort of a mockumentary parody of an NWA style group that, you know, rises to prominence. But the only difference is that they actually are who they say they are in that one. But it's basically Spinal Tap, but for rap music of the 90s.
It's kind of
And-
cool.
Yeah, Fear of a Black Hat obviously is referencing Fear of a Black Planet by Public Enemy, but their music tends to be more NWA skewed, I thought, during it. But they did do a couple other different genres. Also good music in that one. It was. I just watched that one for the first time the other day. I'd seen CB4 a while ago, but Fear of a Black Hat I watched the first time. I thought it was pretty funny. It's pretty good, but it is almost a direct ripoff of Spinal Tap. Like, their managers keep getting shot as opposed to the drummer keep dying. There's like an early scene where they show up and they're mad that their name on the marquee outside is special guest as opposed to saying, you know, their name. I think it's Black Hat or whatever. Oh, their name is NWH. The H stands for hats. But anyway, there's a good movie. So I just thought that was interesting that those two very similar movies came out the same year. Even back then, you know.
Menace to Society,
Oh, such a good movie.
such a good movie. The Nightmare Before Christmas, A Bronx Tale.
Oh yeah, I want to say I thought it's funny for kids at Halloween time. You get a plethora of choices this year that ended up being some classic movies. Hocus Pocus, Nightmare Before Christmas, and Addams Family Values all came out this year. Well,
Oh, so
sick year
good.
to be a kid at Halloween time, dude. That'd been such a cool time in the theater to see any of those. Speaking of Halloween-y type movies, horror movies that came out this year that I would like to highlight. Leprechaun's a pretty well-known movie. It's kind of silly, but it's all right. A lot of kind of silly movies, actually. Leprechaun, Army of Darkness, the silliest of the Evil Dead movies. Ed and His Dead Mother is an interesting one I watched recently. It's a horror comedy starring Steve Buscemi, who like wishes his mom came back to life, and then she does, but it's like doesn't go the way he was hoping.
Zombie.
Yeah. And then the one I want to highlight the most, everyone please go check it out, is Dead Alive, otherwise known as Brain Dead, by Peter Jackson. And it is one of the slurpiest, sloppiest, goopiest, gloppiest horror movies ever. It's just utterly grotesque. I love it so much. The end scene, it just ramps up as it goes along. Gets more and more ridiculous and gruesome and violent. And There's a priest who, one of the best lines in the movie is where he goes, "I kick ass for the Lord." Like, it's just a stupid, fun, crazy, campy movie, and the end of it is outrageous. It's sort of like The Substance in a lot of ways, and I think if nobody has seen anything but from Peter Jackson other than his Lord of the Rings style things and King Kong, you're in for quite a shock. So check out Dead Alive.
One more I wanted to shout out was Cool Runnings came out. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Cool Runnings. Feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme. Get on up, it's bobsled time. A lot of kids' movies came out this year that were pretty good. My Neighbor Totoro, wonderful anime. As well as Free Willy. I mean, that movie was huge back in the 90s.
Oh, yeah, super popular. Came out with multiples.
Yeah, Homeward Bound, another one with animals that kids loved back then. The Sandlot, that was an all-time classic in my household growing up. The baseball movie.
Yeah.
You're killing me, Smalls. Oh, that movie's so good.
Classic.
Another one that my family liked a lot was We're Back, a dinosaur story. So to speak about kids liking dinosaurs, this was a movie that starred John Goodman as a Tyrannosaurus who, like, it's a cartoon, and he is pulled back from a time machine. He gets put into like modern day New York.
I've seen that movie. I like that movie.
I loved it as a kid.
Or something like that.
And then they go to like a really scary circus and they get turned into monkeys.
Super
it's a weird
cool
movie. It's very, very dark and scary, but it's cool. I loved it. And then you got like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 is a historically like a bad movie, but I loved it when I was younger, where they go back in time. Another time travel movie with reptiles. They end up in feudal Japan and become like samurais. And then the Super Mario Brothers movie. That's also another historically...
Yeah, it's historically bad movie.
Yeah.
The live action one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another one, man. I liked it when I was a kid. I just liked how much of a weird world it built. I haven't seen it in so many years. I'd love to rewatch that movie.
Forever.
Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo and Dennis Hopper. Like a lot of people in that.
Yeah. What would you keep from all of these fantastical tales and games and TV shows?
Oh, if I had to save one thing and everything else disappears?
Yeah. And maybe you want to keep the Super Size Me meal, Maybe that's something you're passionate about.
Well, that's a hard question now. Is if we save something that's been removed later, like if history still kept repeating itself or going on as normal, then like in 2005 or whenever Super Size Me came out, did they still take away the Super Size Me meal?
I don't know.
Oh, we'll have to consult scientists.
Yeah,
Timeless Tony will have to tell us. He knows the rules. Okay, for me, I'm going to save Dead Alive. It's been a while since I've saved a weird horror movie. I like to try to save obscure things that people probably don't know about. So sorry, folks, you're gonna have to watch this really gross movie.
I want to save the Jurassic Park movie. No, scratch that. I want to save the Sandlot.
Oh, okay, cool. I like that one.
I was deciding between the two, but I want to save the Sandlot because it's still one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that movie. I love baseball, and it really hits home. Yeah.
They made, like, a lot of those kids, they really put a lot of effort in their performances, and you can really see they swung for the fences, So I'm proud of them.
I do have one fun fact about that movie. The Benny the Jet, the older version of him?
Yeah.
That's Benny the Jet's actor's, the little kid. That's his older brother that plays him.
That's really cool.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
The other day.
That's neat. That's a pretty cool thing to do.
I was like, well, they do look a lot alike. Now it makes sense.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm happy to hear that they gave him a job. Yeah, man, I really like that movie. Now imagine we're in a world now, because there's no Jurassic Park, that we're on like Sandlot number 18 or whatever now. Like there's just different kids keep on getting recruited to play in the Sandlot.
I'm sure eventually they'll add dinosaurs into that at some point.
Yeah. They have
into
done a Sandlot sequel. I never saw it.
I feel like I have.
It was one of those direct-to-video things that was very popular back then. Mm-hmm. But I never got around to watching it. I tell you one thing, I don't think it came out in 1993.
Yeah.
Because that's the year The Sandlot came out. It would have been wild to come out with the sequel the same year. Hey, this is doing pretty good. We got to get to work. Got to capitalize on this. Okie dokie, 1993. Really, man, a great year. What a fun year this was. I kept just digging up more and more stuff that I was excited to find out about. And some things I wasn't so excited to find out about. Looking at you, David Koresh.
Yes.
And the FBI. Shame on both of you guys. Nobody did well this year when it came to that Waco siege.
Seriously.
But I am, I'm ready to get back into modern day life, take care of our responsibilities. I can hear one of your responsibilities currently in the background. So you better get on that. The cries are so loud, they're coming back from the future into 1993. Or wait, are we in the future now? I guess we're in the future now. Okay. Well, I know when I think about the past, the words that come to mind in my head, probably same as the ones that are in your head. That we wish we were then. Bye-bye, folks.